This episode of the Co-optional Podcast is proudly sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain name, website, or online store, make your next move with squarespace.com/cooptional. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-optional Podcast here on the 10th of October, 2017.
The intro music suddenly started playing and I was assaulted with sound.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Co-optional Podcast.
Right. I mean, that is what the intro usually does. It usually plays. It's pretty good.
It does.
So I've been told, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Yes, good.
Yes.
Mm.
Good.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Good.
The plan is in full effect. And so on and so forth. I realize that our little fancy transitions we've been doing over the last couple of episodes, I may or may not have set them up prior to this. So I have them, but I'm not sure which one is the right one because I forgot to name them. So I can select one.
You can preview edit them, so you can still see them, right?
I don't know if I can do that for transitions. So I am going to pick the transition, hope it is the right one, and hope that it doesn't do some weird shit that was not as designed.
It's just one transition in there that's very embarrassing. It's for home videos. It is not for co-optional podcasts.
Indeed, it was not designed for the show whatsoever.
Yes.
No.
Lots of puppies,
in there.
Lots of puppies.
So that will be fun.
Here.
Yep, so the first time we switch over to the show a video scene or anything like that, it may or may not work. That's a very exciting thing. It's like opening a loot box. You just don't quite know what you're going to get, but it's probably going to suck, most likely. Jesse won't even disagree with that, because before the show, it was like,
I
new
literally,
May skin.
Moments ago, I opened my free loot box on Overwatch because the new Halloween event started, and I got two of the exact same fucking thing in it, and it was Avatar for my account.
Great.
And I was like,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, totally
Cool.
great. Thank God you didn't pay for that. Yeah.
my inspiring. I was like, oh no, what it means is that because I get fucked like that, I'm gonna immediately have to go back and spend $39.99 and buy loot.
Yeah, that's where they get
I'm no dummy. I know what I'll do.
That's where they get you. Yeah.
The life of a whale.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? Like, I was talking about this in a recent video, the idea that maybe someone who's like not hugely into either the notion of gambling or just the product, if they were screwed over by a loot box like that, they'd say, well, fuck this, I'm not buying them again. But a lot of us are like, oh, no, we'll totally get it with the next one. And then buy, after getting screwed, we buy $40 more of the motherfucking things.
Yep.
And we go from there.
With Hearthstone packs.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
At least with
Especially
Hearthstone packs, you can disenchant some of the crap that you got. In a lot of these cases, you can't. You just get, oh, great, it's a Goth Zarya skin. I'm never, ever going to use that ever, but it's stuck on my account till the end of time.
Or you lose to a card, and you have to open packs to get that card. I need that card that I just lost too. So, yeah, and Hearthstone got me for that.
Yeah, there was an article that came out that says, like, has Hearthstone become too expensive to keep up with? It's like, dude, that happened years ago. Even as someone that didn't really have a problem with buying packs, it just started to get like, I bought all these cards and now they're out of rotation. I can't use them outside of Wild, which is mostly a complete shit show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm just done with this model. I hate this model. I would much rather do the whole living card game style thing, and Blizzard could totally do this. Like $30 expansion, you get all the cards done. Like But of course, they know they can get $400 out of somebody instead of 30.
There's
So
a
why would
big
they?
difference
Why
in
would
the
they
amount of
ever
money.
do that? Especially since they're the top dog.
I will say the fandom that I have for Brave Exvius, for example, you would think, oh, well, that's just like super mega whaledom and like gotcha bullshit. And like, here's the thing though, unlike Overwatch, for example, which you're paying for skins and you're randomizing skins, when it comes to Brave Exvius, you are straight up like buying characters, right? And so you're spending money. But here's the thing, because the game exists in Japan already, and it's a few months ahead, there are already resources that are like, don't buy this character, it's shit, or don't spend your money. And so each round there's like, oh, there's 4 new characters, and then a guy will like put a review that's like, no, this character's garbage, and 5 months out, by the time the US gets it, and so I'm like, oh, well, I don't have to give I don't have to care this month, and so I just don't like. It's great. I wish that existed more often, where I was like, nah, you don't need to worry about that. It's pretty garbage. I was like, thank you, internet stranger.
But that's not a resource.
Right? Yeah,
that's not a resource that you'll ever get from the actual company, obviously.
No,
Right.
no, absolutely not.
That like relies on the obsessive fandom of other people to make it to you.
Thank God for that. Look, fandom, shout out. Sometimes it can be used. It's like the Force.
Sometimes.
It can be used for good instead of evil.
Yeah,
But
mostly
also-
evil though. Mostly evil.
The other thing is that like the sort of information that's helping you is for the type of microtransactions that we tend to say are not great, right? Like with something like this Halloween event, I know it's all just shit to make things look cooler. And I can at a glance decide I want that because it looks cooler, right? I don't need somebody to be like, well, I've figured out the stats on this May skin and it makes it so that her headshot is twice as powerful. And I'll be like, fuck, I need that, right? Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but then, what's sort of most annoying about Overwatch is that it stops you from getting the thing you want unless you either get lucky or you get enough of the damn shards to build it. And, of course, the exchange rate between duplicates and these scraps and shards is absolutely fucking terrible. So even then, I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like that they've done it.
Even though having pay to win mechanics is terrible, I almost feel like having paid to change the way your character looks is a little more like insidious because it doesn't do anything, but you still want it.
Of
Even though at the end of
course,
the day,
yeah.
it's pointless. Like you're spending money on literally nothing that can help you. It just makes your character look a little cooler. And when you think about it, you're like, oh, that's diabolical.
Especially
Like,
if it's exclusive, right? If it's timed,
Yeah.
you're like, I can never get
yeah.
that again. Like,
The more
no,
exclusive,
I
the
have
better.
to get it. There's going to be this missing part of my account forever if I don't get this. I felt that way when I was playing World of Warcraft a lot, and I hate myself.
When achievements appeared in World of Warcraft, that's for years. I was just like, I gotta get every single one. I had almost every achievement in that game up until a certain point where I was like, why am I doing this? Right? Because you realize eventually the game will end, and eventually all your time you spent, like, you hit a point in your life where like, oh no, this is stupid. Why am I doing this?
Trying to get the insane achievement, which is named for a reason. Yeah, I think that was the moment where I realized, what am I doing? Why am I
Was your
doing
low?
Yeah.
Fuck Ravenholt Rup. That's what I'm saying. I will always say that. That was the worst experience of my life. Or going to Booty Bay. F that.
And then you have to grind it back out again after you get the achievement. Yeah, that was bad. That was
God,
really bad.
I was very, very glad that I did not pursue achievements in that game.
What I was gonna say is, I still think that stuff that applies like buffs or bonuses is worse.
Well,
Because-
it is, yeah, sure.
Oh, it is. I'm not saying that it isn't. It definitely is.
I mean even like mentally, like trying to put it in the same place as like the mental, like, oh, I want it, right? Is if you find yourself stuck in a game that has microtransactions that can help you, you start wondering like, well, what if I can't progress without the microtransaction? Like, is this a problem with me, or is this because I need to buy something? Like you start like.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. So I got a message from Shadow Morta or Shadow 4 that was like, hey, we want to give you a copy, and like all you have to do is like, talk about it. I was like, I'm just gonna buy the game instead. I don't want to like be beholden to you guys on this one. I'm gonna buy it. And so I went on Steam to go like look up, and I realized there's 3 different versions of this game. I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, all right, well, what are there? There's the normal version, the silver version, and the gold version. I was like, well, I want to get the normal version because I don't care that much. But what if getting the gold version gives me some benefit in the game because there's microtransactions that will make it easier for me to play, thus making me not have to grind more, thus saving time. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to get the normal version and we'll see what happens. But like,
It's like
I had that, what you're talking about, I had last night where I was just like,
See, that can go the other way too. With Prey, you could pre-order and you could get a golden shotgun if you pre-ordered. I remember that. And I was worried that this golden shotgun would be way better than any other gun in the game. Yeah. And I would be like, I want to play the balanced version of the game. I don't want the improved version. You know what I mean? Like, Jim Sterling just did a video on that, right? With the different versions of all the different.
He was making the valid point that there's a lot of people that bring out the various defenses for loot boxes and everything, saying, "Oh, games have got more expensive to develop," and blah 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 blah. But they've always been $60. I mean, one, no, they haven't. There were plenty of examples in the cartridge days of games actually being more expensive than that. And secondly, in many cases, as we frequently complain about, the base game is by no means the complete experience. There are often times where getting the proper ending actually requires, buying an expansion pack or DLC. Asura's Wrath, the sensible ending for Fallout 3, required expansion DLC to get it. And God knows how many different editions and everything that's going on there. And once you throw the season pass in there and several seasons worth of DLC, if you looked at like Battlefront, was the original Battlefront a satisfactory product on launch? Did it have everything it needed to be a good game that would keep you interested? Well, no, it didn't, frankly, as far as I could tell. By the time the good stuff came out, which I played, and the some of the modes were really good later on in the game, but you needed the DLC to get those maps and modes. So as far as I'm concerned, no, frankly, it was not a particular, those were not particularly complete experiences. But the point you made on accidentally making the game too easy for yourself is really valid. At Disgaea 5, when I went into that, it's like, do you want 1 million credits? Do you want this character who's clearly way more powerful? It was a pre-order bonus, but now because you have the complete edition, it's all in there. It's like, actually, I don't want those. I just want to play the game the way it was intended to be. And opening loot boxes right off the bat for Shadow of War will make it easier. There's no doubt. It will make it easier. Most reviewers are pointing out that getting all the way through to Act 3 and the first ending, you shouldn't need to open a box, really. So, and then there's some disagreement on Shadow Wars. Some people say yes, some people say no, some people say it's very grindy, others say it's not. I was reading a Rock Paper Shotgun article talking about, it's not grindy, but then they were going through this elaborate way of doing things that it seemed to involve completely exploiting the way the Nemesis system works on a mechanical level that almost seemed so incredibly contrived. And I'm like, well, I don't know how, I really don't know how much it messes with it. The fact is, we shouldn't even be having this discussion. It's a single-player game. This shit shouldn't be in there in the first place.
And what I hate the most is that it sounds good. I hate to say that. The Shadow Wars thing that I read, it sounds like fun. Like, it sounds like something I would really enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is it marred by this? God damn it,
Yeah, I've watched a couple of people play it and it looks super fun too. And I don't see why you would need better or worse weapons in this game when they also let you scale the difficulty.
Yeah, they have difficulty modes.
Really unnecessary. You can literally change the difficulty at any time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a lot of like, most of this is just a PR mess like that Warner Brothers made for themselves, marring what otherwise looks like it's going to be a really good game. And what I heard about Shadow Wars sounded great too. It's like, you could buy shit like fucking firebomb launchers and metal walls and spike traps and everything for your force. I'm like, it sounds great. But what's sort of been flying under the radar while this has been going on, which is something we will have all had a chance to play this week because the beta was out for everybody, is Star Wars Battlefront 2 system. Before I go on, though, although you've already been contributing very much to the conversation, some people do not know who you are. Joseph Anderson, welcome to the show. One could say now professional YouTube critic.
Oh, professional?
Indeed.
Okay.
Well, you make some money off it. Why not? You know, you've got some very popular videos, some very lengthy videos as well.
Yes, very long videos. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
I think you're just chasing down Matthew Matosis in terms of like, here's my critique that's last 13 hours. I'm like, yes, Matthew, yes, let's go. But if those who don't know who you are, what do you do? Where can you be found?
I'm found on YouTube. I make like TB just said, very, very, very long videos on video games. They're not so much reviews as they are critiques, which is just a fancy word for very long review to some people. Mostly, they're not really about, is this game worth it to buy? They're more about, what does this game do? Does it do it well? But it's very tailored by my opinion. They're not objective sort of things, but I try to go at it trying to separate my bias and my perspective at least a little bit from it. But yeah, so I'm on YouTube. And I just started streaming, but that's the YouTube is the most important thing. Yeah.
For the time being, you may realize that's not true later on. Trust me. But
now I might just stream nonstop. But no,
I wouldn't blame you. A lot of us have shifted a lot of our attention to Twitch because it just seems to be a more reliable income source for the time being. But you recently did actually an hour-long critique on Hollow Knight, a game that Dodger very much loves.
What a fucking good game.
Yeah, that's my game of the year so far. I love that game so much.
What a fucking good game. I just like your reaction. It's like,
it's so good, I'm constipated.
Look, I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
With how great that game is.
I just can't get my feelings out. Oh, dear. All right. Battlefront 2, though. Firstly, I want to talk about how it plays. And those of us who've had the chance to play it this week, hands up if you played the open beta this week. Cool. At least a couple of us have. And then talk about what the fuck they're doing with their progression, because Jesus Christ. If you think Shadow of War is bad, and it is, and that shit shouldn't be there, this is literal pay-to-win game-breaking bullshit. But let's throw all that out the window first. Jesse, you played the first Battlefront. I think, you were one of the earliest people to actually criticize the fuck out of elements of that game, including...
I criticized it at E3. The first time
you did, yeah. You went all in on it. When many people were like, oh my god, this. You were like, there are a lot of parts of this game that suck ass.
Yeah. I still feel like there's a lot of parts of this game that suck ass.
Okay, yeah.
But it's better than the first one. I guess they improved a little bit.
I'd say it is, yeah.
But man, the thing that I like the most is I think they've improved a lot in the flying parts of the game. The parts that are not just like ground combat things, the vehicle parts, I think they've improved a lot on, but I still don't like them. I'm not, how can I put it? I don't give a shit about the PvP anymore. I'm only in it for the story mode. Having played what I played, I'm like, well, this is all I need to play of this. I'm out. I'm going to play it for the story mode, and that's it. It did not grab me. The progression system, like you said, is pretty shit. Although I didn't really look into that much because I was like not feeling it. Man, it's definitely something that I'm sure you definitely want to talk about more.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's the only part of it I've played. Bear in mind, the single player wasn't in any way available in this beta.
Right. Yeah, and that's my thing. Is so at the end of the day, I played it. I gave it a look. It is like they took the turd that was the first game and polished it up a bunch. And I don't know.
Still kind of stinky.
I think so. I think it's not nearly as good as it could or should be. They've changed a lot of the mechanics from the first one because the first one was shit. But with that said, I don't know. It didn't grab me. And as a Star Wars fan, that's sad. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now. Because my hope is that the story mode will be awesome.
How long is it, the story mode? Have they said so?
Not a clue.
No idea? Okay.
How long was it in the first one?
They didn't have one.
There was no story. The story mode was literally like...
You can tell I played it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little...
They had the stupid wave-based bullshit. That was it.
Yeah, it wasn't really a story. This one, literally, they're like, not only is it a story, but it's a canonical, like, this is important
Inferno
for
Squad.
Shit, so,
yeah.
All right, I'll play it. But, yeah, I don't know. Not a fan. Like, I just don't know how to describe my disappointment in it.
Okay. That's That's unfortunate. I actually have a bit more of a positive impression of the multiplayer. So I spent a decent amount of time on it, and I think there are some pretty significant improvements. Firstly, the way they've split it up into 4 classes, and each class has synergy with other classes, is really great. Every class basically has some kind of buff or device that is useful to other people. So, for instance, I was playing the officer, who is essentially very much a support class, and I was able to choose between a couple of different things. The first one being an ability which would mean that everybody around me for a certain amount of time had unlimited weapon overheat capacity. So they could just fire and not have to stop. But if I wanted to, I could change it to something which instead gave them more health. So I had the choice between the two. But also as a support class, I was able to take a device. I could either take thermal binoculars, which let me spot enemies and mark them, which was quite useful, especially once the other guys were starting to use smoke and everything, so I could mark targets. I actually got something which was a device that caused grenades to explode in midair, which on the map that they give you, which is, Jesus Christ, I don't know why they put Naboo as the opening map for the conquest mode, because it is a terribly designed map, right? It's two big stages, a big open stage, which clearly is, this should be a very vehicle-oriented stage, but actually isn't.
Yep.
And then an indoor stage, which is Grenade City Population U. Like, you go down a corridor, grenades! Just nothing, unstoppable. And then someone gets a hero and murders everybody. Of course. But by getting this grenade exploder thing, we were suddenly able to do a shit ton better. Another class there's a scrambler that basically takes you off the radar and everybody around you off the radar as well. So we're able to catch people by surprise with it. And I was feeling like with the different abilities and loadouts that you're able to do with these 4 basic classes, there's a lot of flexibility there, especially if they add more skills. And they felt distinctly different. Whereas in the first game, you didn't really feel distinctly different by picking a loadout. Like, everyone pretty much acted the same. There's some clear, distinct differences that have some pretty cool opportunities, I think. And
you're right about that. They did change up the classes.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
I like the fact that they took random power-ups out of the game and they replaced them with a battle point system, which lets you summon vehicles. Like, you can, of course, summon the crazy cool heroes, but they're very expensive. But instead of a crazy cool hero, maybe you just want to be a B1 rocket droid, a B2 rocket droid. Or maybe you want to be a B2 super battle droid, which costs a bit more. So you've got a few opportunities there. Maybe you just want to spend a little bit to shoot from the gunship for a little while. Or summon an interceptor. Like, there was a good amount of flexibility there, I felt.
So when it came to battle points, are battle points based off of your own skill?
Yeah. So it's all kills and objectives. All right. Playing the objective is the best way to earn battle points really quickly.
So when I was playing through this, I was trying to figure out there were people who seemed to constantly have the ability to be like, well, I'm a Jedi now. And it's like, maybe. How? We literally just started. How's that possible? And I don't. And so I was trying to figure out, like,
I don't know.
Is it your own? Like,
it's supposed to be your own, like your own and your objective play. The way they don't have squads in the game, which is a mistake in my opinion, because especially considering now you've got these synergies between the classes, having a squad system would be very smart. They have a wave spawn system where you put into a wave with a bunch of other people, but it's not really the same. Like, this particular version of the game would encourage squad play a lot more than the previous one. So I would hope they put a proper squad system in. But I don't know what was going on with people being able to spawn stuff that early. This shouldn't be.
That's what I'm saying. And more importantly, even the feeling that I got at the end of every game was, if you're very, very good at this, you will be unstoppable because you have access to more and more shit.
There's a lot of that. Like, that's the thing that's always bothered me about Battlefront. And people are like, oh, you can play as the heroes. Yeah, and you know what? That's really fun for you. For the 40 people you just murdered, it's not. Yeah. Like, it really isn't.
Sucks. Because there's literally, unless you all group up and work together, which in a beta no one was doing, unless you group up and work together, the person's just going to run rampant on you. And there's
he
nothing
will.
you can do.
There are
You're role-playing
counters.
AI for them to kill.
Pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. And, you know, weirdly enough, in the older Battlefronts, like, they kind of put AI fodder in the game for you to get that feeling. And that was pretty cool. I think that was a good way to do it. But they want everyone to be a player this time. And it's a problem. It's a problem the game has. Because, again, you're giving a really fun time to one person at the expense of a shit ton of other people. It's kill streaks gone wild, is what it is.
And it is not like the first one where eventually you run out of time. This one is like, if you're good at Darth Vader, for example,
you will never die.
Literally, you're Darth Vader forever. And people will just, you're ruining the game for everyone else. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you think it was better the way that it worked before?
No, I think the tokens or the icons, or whatever, I think that was
terrible. They were terrible.
But I feel like this version is not the good answer either. Like, I think TB might be right. If there was like squads, and if your squad had a total amount of points, then you as a team had to decide how to spend those. Maybe that'd be cool. There's got to be like a cool way of changing it up, but like having one person who's really, really good at the start just dominate in points and then immediately be like, "What up? I'm a hero now," and then just destroy.
And then just
people?
kill people forever. Yeah, because like, as you said, you know, they used to be a timed thing, and now it's just until you die. And if you're quite good at it, you should really never die. You can absolutely murder people. And then we get on to the real elephant in the room, which is the fucking loadout system, which can make this, by the way, even worse, because the loadout in particular for heroes, if you get powerful cards for those heroes, I was going through a set of examples in my video, and one of them I found for Boba Fett was, well, at level 1, this reduces the amount of damage you take while doing rocket barrage in the air by 50%. That sounds okay. Level 4, it's 100%. You're literally invincible while you're doing this fucking thing. And you combine some of these cards together, it's like you were already powerful enough, now you're a god, essentially. And the worst part about how the system works is that you're basically, the level system is for the most part based on how many cards you have. So in theory, if this works the same way on launch, I buy 50 loot boxes. I immediately, by opening all those loot boxes, level up my characters to maybe level 5 or even level 10. At level 5, you get a second star card slot. At level 10, you get a third one. So I can start with a 3-star card, probably high-level star card guy right off the bat, and I'm going to be murdering the hell out of these other day one guys that haven't spent the money to do that.
Yeah,
that's
terrible.
Even as the basic classes.
Well,
even
good
as
for you.
I mean, it's great for me. It's going to be great for my critique. You know, when I do my footage for my channel, I'm like, look at how great I am, guys. And here's the thing. As sad as it sounds, I'd ask, if you had the money to do this, why the fuck wouldn't you? The game is saying the whole progression system is based on getting as many cards as you can. If I have a shortcut to get a bunch of cards and money's like not a big deal, why the fuck wouldn't I? The only reason
cheating?
Basically, yes. Yeah. It's officially endorsed cheating. There's no other way around it. And the only other thing is well, you know, you should have some honor, some ibashido. No, why would I? I don't give a fuck about you. I want points. I want to dominate 42 kills to 1. And the game is telling me to do it.
And someone else will.
Yeah, if I don't, somebody else will. You're totally right. You know?
This also goes to what I was talking about when I was trying and failing to describe the one thing I like, which is the Starfighter portion of the game, which I think they improved greatly over the first one. Frondor, whatever the hell the level's called. It's cool, but you also have the exact same loadout system with Starfighters.
Yeah, it's quite serious.
You can be in a TIE fighter and have the best damn TIE fighter in the world all of a sudden, and it makes no sense. And it's like, what? Yeah,
you're gonna win. You're gonna win a fight all the time. We looked at a combination where it was 20% increased fire rate and then 50% increased cooling. So, and I think there was one other thing where increase the effectiveness of your offensive ability. So you turn your offensive ability on, and someone did a calculation, I don't know how accurate their mathematics were, that your effective damage over a certain period of time would be 127% more than a guy that didn't have those things. So it was this is ridiculous. Like,
Wait, 127%?
Yeah, it would be over a certain period of time because you can fire and then you have to let your weapons cool down. But if you have this high level weapon cooldown card, they don't really have to cool down anywhere longer.
Massive.
So yeah, you can get a bunch of sustained fire, whereas another guy couldn't do that. So it is like, so some people have pointed out that like 4 or 5 years ago, I was talking about this kind of thing as pay to skip. I officially changed my fucking mind. Like, at this point, in these situations, bearing in mind that compared to other games, like, say, we keep talking about Clash Royale, or at least I keep bringing it up, saying that, look, I bought a bunch of cards in that game, and then it matched me up against people that had the same level cards as me. In this game is not going to do that. Like, you know it isn't. It's like a 40 to 64 player big clusterfuck casual game. They're not going to give a damn about individually tracking skill. They're going to toss everyone in the same pot, and these godlike guys are going to dominate everybody else. And you know that's going to happen. This is... If that was not my definition of pay to win 5 years ago, it fucking well is now. I'm saying that right off the bat. I guess back then I didn't expect that they would be so audacious as to do this. I was wrong. They absolutely were.
Yep.
Did you guys know Tamagotchi are back?
No. But I'm not sure if that makes my day better or worse hearing that.
Found out. It's not even an app or anything. It's like full on like keychain Tamagotchis.
The segue got me there, Dodger. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Just trying to break it up. Just trying to break it up a little bit.
If they did something like this like a year into the game, like remember Battlefield did the whole, and it wasn't at the start of the game, it was like a year into the game. Hey, you need to catch up, you can unlock all the weapons. Like, one, that wasn't so bad because the weapons technically should be balanced anyway. And two, they only did it like a year into the game to let people, catch up a little bit. That was okay. This is like from day one, and your whole progression system is literally based on random loot boxes. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Like, progression is supposed to make sense and let you set a goal. You can't set a fucking goal with a bunch of loot boxes. Okay, you've got a shard crafting system, but we have no idea how long it's going to take to grind enough fucking shards to get this thing. We don't know that. Whatever, I hate it. I absolutely hate it, because I think the game is a lot better than the previous one. But this is bullshit.
Yeah, it's just a disappointment. I feel nothing but sadness knowing that the first one was kind of like, okay, well, they're trying to capitalize on the fact that the new movie's coming out, and they can't really reveal anything, so it's going to be kind of a shell of a game, and, whatever.
Oh, sure as hell was that.
Cash grab. All right, sure, okay. The second one, you have the time to make something better, and it's not, and it's sad. But I will play the campaign because I'm a nerd and I want to play it. I will not touch multiplayer. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's a bit depressing, really. I guess I'm glad there are still a lot of very good online shooters and I don't have to play Battlefront, really, as one of them. So that's fine. Hell, I'm more interested in COD World War II. Like I said, I described the war mode either last week or the week before as a cool objective-based multi-stage mode that was very much inspired by Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, which is clear because some of the dev team's actually on the World War II dev team. And I'm like, I'll just play that. If I want my multi-stage objective stuff, I'm just going to play that mode. That sounds all right.
Didn't I see like a leak of that game last night? That they have loot boxes too?
They said that they had what they've been doing with it is I don't know if they're going to do it right from the start, but yeah, there'll be cosmetic stuff. But then but here's the thing: they did that in the last one. They did cosmetic only, and then later switched it to buying power. So they'll probably pull some bullshit on that too. I guess I'll play Dirty Bomb. I mean, that's free to play. And the stupid thing about Dirty Bomb is like it's free to play and their system's still way fairer than these other games. I was like, oh damn it!
And then
why?
They add loot boxes,
why is this?
And eventually you're making your own game, which won't have loot boxes.
Until of course it does. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds won't have loot boxes. Here's some loot boxes. We don't have enough yachts yet. Here's some loot boxes. $1,000 fucking underwear or whatever.
You start with a gun. That would be crazy. Yeah. In that game.
Oh man, that would be. I don't know. Would they get that audacious? Maybe. Hard to say.
Yeah, that would ruin it.
Yeah, it would.
I
Would
think
people riot? Possibly. It's been interesting to watch, though. Like, they're on the way to 2 million concurrents. Apparently, it's exploding in Asian territories right now. But their Fortnite was also reporting that they went over 500,000 concurrents and got 7 million unique players. This market is big. Bigger than we thought, maybe. Because I was expecting one to cannibalize the other.
More ways to play with this format.
Yeah, yeah.
Because obviously there are enough players to go around. Like, there's space. It doesn't have to be a monopoly. There's space for people to think of new ways to do battle royales. Yeah,
because there's at least 3 pretty damn successful MOBA style games and a couple of others that are still doing all right. You know, your big ones are in order: League, Dota, Smite. You know, and then below that you've maybe got a couple more that are doing okay. So there's space in the genre. It'll be interesting to see who comes out of it. I'm still enjoying Fortnite Battle Royale. We're finding more and more things to do with buildings. Like, as people learn the game, building is becoming far more relevant early in the game.
Yeah, I like the creativity in that game, and I think there could be something even more creative if there was a third one. You know, I really do like that.
Yeah.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is probably the better game. I've played both a little bit, but I really like the dynamic that the building adds to Fortnite, and I like the art style in Fortnite a lot too. You know, it's I'd be interested in more creative things, like a Mario Kart Battle Royale sort of thing.
Oh my god, like an even goofier
like
Battle Royale. Yeah, I would play the shit out of that.
Mario Battle Royale would be incredible. If they could capitalize,
like the Mario Rabbids version of a Battle Royale game.
Just real stupid. I'd play the hell out of that.
It'd be interesting to see what's going on with that.
Plays all the Mario characters. Oh my god!
Didn't GTA recently release a kind of vehicle-based battle royale thing? I really haven't heard a lot about that. I know it came out quite recently. Let me look this up and see if they ever did a trailer for this.
GTA gets PUBG style battle royale mode and Smuggler's Run update.
Smuggler's Run was it called? Yeah. I don't know.
Motor Wars, it's called.
I don't know how you play it, but there's a trailer here, so I guess we can watch that. But the first thing I see on YouTube when I look at this and immediately makes me think, oh god, 55 million spending spree. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. So look at the Smuggler's Run trailer. I'm not sure if that really shows anything. So you said it was called Motor Wars?
Up to 4 teams parachute into a periodically shrinking kill box strewn with lethal assortment of guns, explosives, weaponized vehicles. Work together, find a vehicle, and fight opposing teams in the shrinking map to win and survive. Okay.
That sounds kind of neat and the sort of thing that I would play. I wonder if that's influenced in any way by money.
What?
I don't know what you mean, TB.
What do you mean?
It's... Yeah, so I'm showing some footage. IGN got a little bit of footage of this here. So, yeah, you definitely dropped in by the looks of it. But it's interesting if it's more vehicle-oriented, and it's a bunch of weaponized vehicles, so getting your squad on, like, a large weaponized truck with a fucking flat cannon on the top of it and driving around, I could see that being very fun.
Yeah.
I would play that. I'd absolutely play a Mad Max-style game like that. I think post-apocalyptic is definitely a way to go. Like, especially like making guns from like pipes and shit, kind of Fallout style. I'd be into that.
That really looks like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Wow.
It really does, yeah. IGN is currently doing a really good job of running. I'm just trying to see if they do anything else. Let's see if they find a vehicle or anything like that at some point in this. Oh, he has a minigun and he's on the back of a truck. Okay, this is neat. I mean, this is already a kind of different spin on the notion because it's very clearly you got to find a vehicle and fight in vehicles sort of thing, which is very much not the case in PlayerUnknown. I mean, getting a vehicle and that's useful, but they're not weaponized, not like this.
Right.
I can see this being interesting and potentially enjoyable. I might reinstall GTA just to try this, actually. This might be up my alley.
Every time I get in a vehicle in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, it's like I've painted a gigantic target on my back.
Sometimes, yes. Yeah, so that's kind of the disadvantage of it. That's fucking half-track. God, are there planes in this? I don't know. Looks all right, though.
This fight is so funny to watch. It's like watching 2 bad drivers try to be like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh man, there's nothing better than watching games journalists fight each other. Trust me. Like I always go back to the good old Gamescom like 2011 where we played the alpha of Smite, and we didn't have a bunch of people didn't show up for the appointment, so we ended up in a 2 versus 5, and it was me and my cameraman versus 5 game journalists, and I ended up being like 29 for 1. And it's just like, have you never played a Dota style game before? And they were like, no. Like,
No.
I'm kind of sorry for ruining this for you. Oh dear. Yeah, but I'm still enjoying Fortnite Battle Royale. I hope they keep throwing content at it, because that's really what they just need to do. Update a lot. More guns, more loot, more items, more cool shit. Just keep doing it. Just keep throwing stuff at us every week. I'd be very happy with that. The duos mode is a lot of fun. I've been playing that with Force. It's been pretty great. Joseph, what have you been playing this week? What's been? I believe you've actually had a chance to take a quick shot at several games. You had some first impressions last night on Twitter. What do you got to say about those?
I've been streaming myself playing Hob.
Hob, yes.
And Ruiner. I've been playing those 3 games.
I've played Ruiner, yeah. What did you think about Hob?
I watched last week's episode. I know Jesse loves it, so I'm a little nervous because I didn't.
Oh, Jesse's harmless. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I really like the visuals. I really like how the world builds itself around you as you make changes. That's great. The combat and movement are they're like decent. It's good. But my issue was with the puzzles and just the state of the game. It felt very glitchy, and maybe I was just unlucky, but there would be times where I died out of nowhere. Like I was just walking along and I just died, and I'm just sent back to the checkpoint. Water wouldn't spawn in the rivers that you're supposed to fill, so there would just be no water in there at all. Like, and I mean that there would be a river and it would just stop. Like an invisible wall was just put down right in the middle of the river, and there's no water there, and you can't swim in it either. It's not there, and you need the water to progress to the next area. So bugs and glitches like that. The puzzles were occasionally... See, this is where the problem is, because I'm new at streaming. So I don't know if the problem was with me because I was trying to reach out for the first time, really, as I'm playing this game. But I found it that I was just following things and just hitting levers and be like, oh, I wonder what this does. Oh, it did that. Okay, now I go over there and just interact with the next thing over there. And as much as I liked how the world kept assembling around myself, that wasn't a good thing. I like to know what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm trying to solve a puzzle and walking around.
Because at that point, it doesn't really seem like a puzzle. It seems like you're just pressing buttons and hoping the right thing happens.
Yeah, let's push a box, climb on it, go up here. Okay, what's over here? It's it is very 2D Zelda, or a mix of 2D and 3D Zelda, and I like that. And I think that's something that I'm surprised more indie developers aren't doing, because I think it's quite a lot of people love those games. So I would say that it's not a bad game, but I only just like it. So yeah. All
right, that's fair. Jesse, have you played any more since you did your little video on it?
Yeah, I mean, those are fair critiques. There's a lot of bugs in the game. I still think it's awesome. I just think that it definitely, the further you progress, the more indie it feels. Right. It's like, there weren't enough people to actually test all the stuff in this game. So yeah, no, you're right. There's definitely some things where like, what is that water doing? But I still think it's fun, and I think the puzzles are not nearly as complicated as some people make them out to be, but like yeah, it's valid critique.
Thank you.
Might be a wait a little bit and see what they do with a couple of patches then.
It's already gotten one, so I'm
okay, that's good.
If I do a video on it, which I might, I'm not sure, I always play the games twice, so I'll play it again with the patch and see if it fixes it. Cool. I think it has a lot of potential. Like it was okay.
It's as great Zelda-like game. It just has that, like, not a huge team worked on this. We didn't have a lot of people to go through and check everything vibe, which that's indie games, unfortunately.
Sometimes it is, yeah. It's cool to see them step out of the comfort zone, though. You can still see.
It still looks like a gorgeous game.
It is gorgeous.
Oh, it is. Yeah, incredible. It's definitely good looking. Yeah,
you can still see a little bit of Torchlight in there, especially when people. They just love having people explode when you hit them. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Nice big blood explosion, a little bit of slowdown. I like it.
That really shocked me when I played it first. I was like, oh, it's this cutesy game. There's this cute giraffe. There's this thing. And then I go like, oh, what's this big tentacle? And it splat and I exploded in a shower of blood.
Like, oh my God.
Where did this come from?
What happened?
Yeah.
A little bit of a clash there. Speaking of something that does not shy away from violence, Ruiner. I had a lot of fun with that. Dodgy, you have not played it yet, even though it's kind of up your alley, right?
I still haven't, because it looks really cool, but it reminds me, for some reason, when I watch footage of it, it reminds me of, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the kind of game that I want to play right now, so I just haven't touched it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Joseph, you played a bit of it. I played a few hours and enjoyed my time with it. What do you reckon?
I finished it last night on stream, actually. I got through the whole thing. It's not a long game, which I wasn't expecting a long game. It took me 4.5 hours to go.
That's pretty quick. Huh.
Yeah, so it's pretty short. I do think there's a new game plus though, but I haven't tried it yet.
Right.
What really surprised me, and I don't know if this is a spoiler. I just said 4.5 hours, so I doubt it's a spoiler. Is that you go to the little hub world and
Yes.
you go to different places.
Yeah.
You only pick a mission from there about 4 times, and then
Right.
that's it. However, some levels continue into other levels, which count as different levels after you're done.
Right.
So yeah, it was a bit shorter than I expected, and it makes you fight the same boss, I think, 3 separate times, which is okay because it was an okay boss.
Okay.
The one where you have to use the shield on the big laser.
Fuck that thing.
Yeah.
They nerfed her in the recent patch. Apparently, she was a nightmare. I got stuck on her for a long time.
I was able to dodge my way through the laser, probably because of the patch.
Yes, they did.
Tried to do it. Yeah.
Basically, pre-patch, that thing instantly locked onto you, and dodging barely made any difference because the tracking speed was so fast that dodging barely helped you.
Yep, and that must be difficult.
It was a bitch.
Yeah, I think I was playing after the patch version, so it was a little easier than a lot of people were reporting for me.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. There's some things that kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm still not sure if this is how it works, but what really messed with me was you have the Zelda hearts in top left hand corner.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Health, which are the crosses, and I think those crosses represent a number instead of a fraction of how much health you have.
Right.
So if you get clipped by something and it only does like 1 damage, the screen will flash like you take damage, but the cross won't go down. So I was like, did I take damage? Is there an invincibility frame on this dodge? That sort of thing. And it took me a little while to adjust to that because I was like, I'm dodging this and sometimes I take damage, sometimes I don't. And I think that was why. But it took a little, things like that took a little getting used to.
What do you think about the camera perspective? Did that mess with you initially? Because that took me about a good 20 minutes to really get the hang of.
Especially turning while you're firing.
Yes.
It was a bit, wasn't as responsive as I would like to initially, but maybe I like it now. I'm not sure. You have to be very responsible for where you're aiming, I guess. Like you have to always have your right thumb on the right analog stick to make sure that you're aiming in the right way.
Yeah.
And with dodges, with melee strikes, you can really take some bosses down fast if you are good at dodging out, dodging back. That was my favorite part of the game was all the dodges you could chain together. I really liked that ability. But there's some things I never used. I never used any frag grenades. I never used any of the shields, that sort of thing. I just went through it, just dodging and hitting, and it just kept working. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep doing it. But
the shock launcher is really fucking good.
Launcher. Okay, I'll try that when I play it again. But I was on normal, and I always play games on normal the first time because I need to know what the developers want normal to be and then have a reference point for hard.
Yes. Yeah.
And on the main menu screen, the select, it actually says hard. This is what we want you to play. This is the developer's intention. So I think that I should play it on hard again and see how it goes. But I liked it a lot. I think I still prefer Fury, and it's not the exact same game, but I really like Enter the Gungeon as well. I think I still prefer Fury. It's a little on the short side, but it's not a full price. I think it's $20, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's about enough there for $20. Like in terms of that's my on the fly review. There's enough there for $20. Yeah. So I liked it.
Yeah.
Music was great.
The music soundtrack's super killer, and the visuals in particular. If you don't mind being interrupted fairly consistently by stuff flashing up on your screen, then it's super cyberpunky and awesome. And some people might enjoy being called puppy by someone who looks suspiciously like Diva. That's all I can say.
That was weird. Yeah, puppy.
Puppy.
Okay.
You are puppy for some reason. I don't know why that is. And there's like a cat gang in the game for whatever reason. I don't know what's up with that. It's one of the first quests. You have to go hack 3 cats for them for some reason. So not hack them to pieces. You don't kill them or anything. You just apparently the cats use the surveillance devices, and you've got to hack into them.
You hack them.
You hack the cats. Yeah, you don't hack them to pieces. No.
I get it.
You murder a bunch of cats. Yeah.
Got it.
You don't do that. Not quite. Not quite. I think it's good. Like it may have a lot of these sort of. This is not the time to be releasing difficult games because everyone's like, but Cuphead though. So maybe
Cuphead's good. Cuphead's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're gonna kill me after the stream, aren't you? I remember seeing that at the end of the last stream.
Why would I
All
kill
three-
it? What? Why would we do
All
that?
said,
Oh, are
super
you about to
Cuphead,
tell me that Cuphead's not difficult?
And you're gonna kill me after the stream? That's what you said last time. No, Cuphead is very difficult. Cuphead
Yes.
is very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the sort of annoying circle jerk that has appeared that it's like, Cuphead's not difficult. It's like, then what is? I want
Oh my
these
God,
people
that
to
always
do.
happens though. That always like people love being like, oh, I don't know why everybody talks about Dark Souls when Dark Souls is so easy. Like that sort
I mean,
of
that's just people
happens-
trying to wave
it
the
happens
Lee
with
Pina around.
every hard game. Every hard game.
But people are just like I don't think people even know what difficulty means. And I think that's a very interesting discussion. It's like, what defines difficult? Because with Dark Souls in particular, it was like when the whole Dark Souls isn't difficult thing started creeping in, it's probably as a more counterculture thing to the fact that people hammered on about it being difficult too much. And like the game's press in particular, and even some of the marketing started with like, "You're gonna die. It's really hard, guys." And I think maybe people were just being contrarian.
Like if people keep telling you, "Oh my God, this is the scariest movie I've ever seen," and you build it up so much, and then by the time you go to it, you're like, I don't know, everything like they pretty much always left open a spot on the screen where the ghost was obviously gonna show up, and like like by the end, you're like, I mean, it got me a couple times, right?
Yeah, it's something along those lines. I mean, but I don't see how you could ever view Cuphead as not difficult. Like, it is deliberately designed to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. It doesn't give you
that you can't really predict either. Like you're gonna die on a
there's a bit of trial and error in it. Like I think the majority of it, well, certainly early on, seems like it's fair to the point where you could see some stuff coming. But there's definitely later on, as Dodger has experienced. You beaten the devil yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you done that? You found the magic? Yep.
I beat the game single player, and then Jesse invited me to do the End of World 3 and the final bosses with him in co-op.
I will say there's one thing that I think is impossible, and I think you'd agree with me, Dodger, yeah? The co-op...
The second to last boss.
on King Dice, the last phase of King Dice, you have to jump slap your way across a bunch of dice. But when you slap, it like freezes the screen for a microsecond. And when two people are slapping, it changes up the rhythm so drastically.
Oh, wow.
You just fall and die.
Yeah.
And so watching like one person do it or one person doing it, it's easy because you just slap, slap. And that's how you do. Two people, it's like slap, freeze, and then right when you're about to get your rhythm, another freeze happens because the other person just slaps, and then you just fall into the cards and die.
Huh.
It is
interesting.
I don't know how that's possible.
Right? Yeah, same.
Unless you were like perfectly timed, where the two of you are so in sync that you slap at the exact same time. I can't figure out how you would do that.
Maybe that's what it's designed for. Maybe you have to be.
That's tough. That's real. That's unnecessarily hard. Like the game mechanic is literally holding you back.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because I've heard some arguments about, well, co-op's the easier way to play, and then a lot of people's like, actually, it's not, because it's hard. I think maybe it's like at some points it helps, but at some points it's a hindrance.
There's gonna be more clutter on the screen too, right? And that's I would say that would be.
I would say for the rest of having gone back and like dicked around on a few things by myself, it doesn't feel any more or less chaotic. Except for a few boss fights, which the abilities target players one at a time. And so maybe like by moving or playing with someone else, you can walk into an ability that's targeting a friend. But other than that, I feel the vast majority of it is pretty balanced. Like
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I think the only thing that is way more difficult to player is the run and guns, because the camera can only go as far as the back person. And if you've made a jump and the other person hasn't made a jump yet, and there are enemies coming and you can't see them, the person in front is like hosed. It's really hard to time out that stuff. But in terms of the bosses, I think the bosses feel the same. Like everybody, and maybe this is another situation where people were like, oh my God, and this boss, like it was so difficult with two of us. And then when like the other person died, like everything was so easy. And I was like, I don't see it. It felt like all of the bosses like scaled very, very well. And maybe it's because Jesse and I were so in sync, but
indeed.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you have experience. You have piloted a shitty fake Jaeger in the past, so you already have that.
True.
You did do that.
You already have. You did. You did.
That's true.
You were in that.
Yeah.
I remembered that. I obviously not so in sync with Husky anymore. I haven't spoken to him in 4 years. But you know what? Never mind. And it broke up the game, Grumps. So I guess it can't help them too much. But never mind.
Right.
That was the reason, guys.
Jesse
That's why he left.
Living Jaeger pilots.
Indeed, all the other Jaegers are dead.
We're the only ones left.
Oh,
We
God.
have to raise John Boyega together.
Oh, let's do it.
You can't.
Do it.
He won't sync with you, Jesse. Remember, he slapped you down the last time you tried to talk to him.
I saw a tweet he put out the other day. It was like, all these haters online. I was like, do you think he thinks about me?
You fanboy
I
fuck.
don't hate you, John Boyega. I love you.
Oh, dear. All right, we're going to take a break, folks, and hear some wonderful words from our sponsors. I'm sure everyone's going to really love this ad.
Oh, God.
Oh, my. Our sponsor today is, of course, Squarespace. Squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and a free trial. As to whether or not we'll have the sponsorship after this ad, I do not know. But we've been pushing the envelope so far, and it's been okay. Let's see if we go over the line this time. We'll be right back after the break, ladies and gents, with the Cooptional Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Do not. You have... Where's the button? Yes, there's the button. You have no chance. Make your time. We'll be right back. Have you ever found yourself feeling as if you're out of place? Something in the world doesn't feel as it should? Do you think that the people around you are not quite on your level? Are you having difficulty caring about anything whatsoever? What is the source of these feelings? Well, there are a number of possible reasons for this, but the most likely in your case is that you have a very high IQ. Yes, that's right, you may in fact be a genius. The world needs more geniuses and their ideas, but that means your time is also extremely valuable. Will you share your genius with the world? Will you rain upon the addle-pated simpletons manna from the heaven of your truly enlightened brain? Of course you will, for you are indeed a generous god. A genius like yourself should not be impeded by fiddly source code, plebeian languages such as HTML, or a complete lack of artistic ability. The solution to all of these is, of course, Squarespace, but you already knew that, because you're the smartest person on the planet. With Squarespace, you can create a beautiful, attractive, and professional-looking website in just minutes with a huge range of expertly designed templates. Simply choose the template you want and use your brain as the source, allowing your revolutionary ideas to unfold on screen. A mind such as yours should not be impeded by petty mortal concerns like cost, so we are happy to offer you 10% off your first order and a free trial at squarespace.com/cooptional. But what could you use your website for? Anything your colossal mind can imagine. Galleries, blogs, stores, events, a literal online temple to nihilism. All of these things are possible at Squarespace, but of course they are. Nothing is impossible for an intellectual such as yourself. Make sure everybody knows your name. Let it be forever etched in the annals of history with a Squarespace domain. Practically limitless options and no hidden fees. There's no need to share something as sophomoric as a .com when you could pick something truly representative of your shining wisdom like .guru or .dog. Oh my god, they have .dog? Why didn't anybody notify me of this? Buy all of the .dogs at once. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand this ad. The humor is extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of theoretical physics, most of the jokes will go over the typical viewer's head. There's also TotalBiscuit's nihilistic outlook, which is deftly woven into his characterization. His personal philosophy draws heavily from Narodnia Volia literature, for instance. The fans understand this stuff. They have the intellectual capacity to truly appreciate the depth of these jokes, to realize that they're not just funny, they say something deep about life. As a consequence, people who dislike this ad truly are idiots. Of course, they wouldn't appreciate, for instance, the humor in TotalBiscuit's existential catchphrase, squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and a free trial, which itself is a cryptic reference to Turgenev's Russian epic Fathers and Sons. I'm smirking right now, just imagining one of these addle-pated simpletons scratching their heads in confusion as John Bain's genius wit unfolds upon their computer screens. What fools. How I pity them. Source. This entire ad was a stupid meta joke about source. Squarespace. Create your own website with no prior experience required. Get 10% off your first order and a free trial over at squarespace.com/cooptional. Share your genius with the world, or hoard it all for yourself and sell it on the internet later. Wubba lubba. So much better. Make your next move with Squarespace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast. The wonderful sounds. God, I've been playing this for weeks now. Christopher Madigan's soundtrack to Cuphead. It just keeps on delivering. There's so many great tracks in there.
It's so good. It's
Yep.
so good.
It is. It's wonderful. Although those only with a truly high IQ can appreciate it. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I am not at
No, you're
all
not sorry.
sorry.
Don't apologize
Right.
when you're not really sorry.
It has been open
There's no point.
season for the last few days on Rick and Morty's fanboys, and I am entirely okay with that. I think that is reasonable, considering the situation. Very reasonable. It's a very measured response, is what I'd call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean,
I played A Hat in Time.
good.
Y'all want to talk about that?
I did too.
Yeah, apparently some people are beating it in about 12 hours.
Seems reasonable enough for what, a $20, $30 game, right?
Yeah. I think that it's very fun. It definitely has that. I was talking with Jesse about it because I streamed it, right? And in the very first level, you run into one of the other main characters, Mustache Girl. And she's like, follow me, right? And I didn't follow her because I had passed a whole bunch of shit behind me. And I was like, well, wait, I want to backtrack and go look at all this stuff. I didn't realize that the world is like, so like each area you're in is really expansive. But I was like, oh man, but I like passed a bunch of shiny shit back there, right? So I started just going off in a totally different direction and completed what the level asked of me. I needed to like get an item, right? I got the item and it was like, cool, you completed the level. And it did like the old school sort of 3D platformer thing where it was like, whoop, right? Taking you back to the hub world, right? So I go back to the hub world and there were a couple people in my chat who were like, you ruined the sequence. You didn't follow her. You missed all kinds of story stuff. You missed the tutorial. And I was like, that's not my fault. Like
it was a crime. Like
yeah. So,
you must only play it one way.
It was just kind of funny. Like if I'm kind of torn on it because I don't feel like after having played a decent amount past that, I don't feel like I'm lost at all. Like the next time that I interacted with Mustache Girl, I didn't feel like I had missed anything, right? And if I did miss stuff, it is not my fault as the player that the game didn't like lead me in a direction where I had to find that information out, right? Like that's not my fault, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, you're right. Look, the game is also designed to just go goof around and have fun. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. There's chests all over the place. There's shiny shit. There's whatever else. The game gives you reasons to go back into levels and like find other stuff that appears there. So you wind up going back and having lots of things to do in every area. So yeah, it makes sense that the levels aren't set up in a way that's super linear because that's not the way that they're designed to be, right?
But you don't understand. There is only one proper way to do this. And by not doing this, you are ruining our experience as the viewer, yeah?
Why didn't you follow her when she said to follow? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Why will you not be ordered around by this collection of pixels?
Because I didn't want to.
You are a rebel and a traitor to the state.
To the state?
Yes, and also a really terrible looking beaver, apparently. You are
State of
cosplaying No, stop that. That is the worst. Stop it.
You don't like this?
No, I really don't. I'm actually very uncomfortable right now. No.
But the game itself, for the most part, I haven't had very many glitchy problems. There's been, like, I'll knock on a door and the camera assist will like make it so that I can see that there's nothing on the other side of the door, but you still hear a voice on the other side of the door, and you're like, all right, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't affect gameplay at all. Like nothing gameplay wise has harmed like my experience of the game. There have been a couple of mechanics that were for one level only that pissed me off so bad that I was delighted when the level was over. But overall, the game is so cute. I think it's really, really cute. You're just like a little girl who wears different hats to have different powers, and you're on a spaceship, and your ship gets busted, and you got to go on adventures to lots of different planets to fix your spaceship. That's the story, and it's super cute.
Okay, so you say it's cute. Is it for children? I've played it. Do you think it's for children? Because there's a part.
There is the Halloween area.
Yeah, you got that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
there's a Halloween area where you get like a hook shot, basically. That's like an ability you can swap in as a badge. So you have this hook shot. If you hook onto like there are not lassos, there are nooses all over the place. If you hook onto a noose, it'll be like, ooh, I would love to wrap myself around your little pretty neck.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, specifically that area, there were lots of things where I was like, there are little minions that you find all over the level. And if you're in the area with the nooses, there are just dead minions all over the place, like hanging from the nooses. I was like, this is fucking morbid.
Well, there's a part in that level where you go inside. I don't know if you got that far, where you go into a haunted house, and
I haven't been there yet.
That becomes this kind of like, it becomes like Soma or something. Like seriously, it's like really abrupt tonal shift. There's like blood on the walls and stuff. Like it's like, I was like, what? And like, I don't want to spoil it, but like, I was shocked when I got to that. But I was like, wait, is this for kids? Like, what am I playing right now?
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's how I felt about the game. There are parts of it where I was like, okay, I'm not really enjoying this very much. And then there were other parts where I was like, oh my god, this is great. Like they're boss battles that are really good. Yeah.
I was surprised that that the boss battles sort of changed up mechanics and things too. I thought that was fun.
There's one where you fight a toilet, you fight a porta potty.
Perfect.
Right.
Someone's buying that game right now because I said that.
Somebody's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I think I feel pretty safe in avoiding that one. 3D, I mean, the whole 3D collectathon platform has never been my scene to begin with. This has not changed my mind.
But wasn't it, Jesse, it was you, right, who said that playing Hat in Time made you feel like you were playing an older 3D platformer, but had the modernizations that you wanted?
Sounds like something I would have said.
If not, I will take credit for it anyway.
More mean way, where it was like, that new Banjo Kazooie game fucked up, but Hat in Time did it right.
I mean, I definitely I would have said that because that sounds like me. I like Hat in Time. I think it's a good game. So I got to make a bird passport for myself. The game let me draw on my bird passport, and I spent way too long trying to make myself look like a bird. It was great.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
It was great. Loved it.
Soundtrack, any good? I've been told it's pretty good.
Nothing in the soundtrack has stood out to me. I think that it's just like accompanied the areas well.
All right.
Voices are for the most part great. Yeah.
I was surprised that there was voice acting. I wasn't expecting that. I was just thinking Banjo-Kazooie. There's a little part where someone's strumming on a guitar and it sounds just like Banjo-Kazooie. The level select or something that's in there. But yeah, nothing stood out to me either.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's cute.
So I played Battlechasers.
Oh yeah. Tell me your feels. Everybody seems to love it.
I don't like it.
Oh, tell me everything.
Well, specifically, I like everything about it bar the one thing that the game spends most of its time doing, which is the problem. So that game drags. It is a JRPG in every sense of the word. which means a lot of fighting, a lot of turn-based fighting, and also a lot of turn-based fighting against things that have no chance against you whatsoever, but you have to fight them anyway. And even like in some of the early dungeons, they could take a while. The second dungeon, which some people will know as like the Wolf Dungeon, you'll know what I mean by that. That took me about 90 minutes, and I also talked to Sin Victor, who'd played it, and Jesse apparently seems to agree. Yeah, that's about how long it takes.
Long-ass dungeon.
Yeah, and it was a little too long for my taste, and I was playing that dungeon, and people are going to be like, well, this is why this happened, but I was playing this dungeon on the harder difficulty. You get a choice of 2 difficulties. If you beat it on the harder, you get a heroic chest, and then you unlock a legendary difficulty if you have the patience to play it again for even better stuff. And I played it on the harder one because I'd played the first dungeon on normal, and it was a complete walkover, and a lot of side quest stuff had been a walkover. I didn't have anyone die in the first 7-8 hours of play, so I was like, all right, I want to be challenged because this combat system is really good, and it's got a lot of very interesting interactions in it. There's skills that interact with other skills, things that just work very, very well together and are interesting choices to make. The problem is they only become interesting choices to make if the stuff that you're fighting kind of justifies you doing clever stuff to beat it. So if you look at a game like, say, Darkest Dungeon, you're often going to be trying to play it as optimally as possible because you are dealing with an extremely limited set of resources in that game, and any fight can get you killed. In Battlechasers, certainly within the first 7-8 hours in the game, I found that you would have to screw up very, very, very seriously to actually be in any sort of trouble. The dungeons are the strongest part of the game because your mana and your health are limited resources, and you can take potions into a dungeon, but obviously those are also limited resources. So if you overdo it, if you spend your resources in the wrong way, if you spam too many pointless abilities, you could be in some serious trouble there. If you take too much damage, you're going to end up running out of resources. And there's a little overcharge mechanic that kind of compensates for that, making sure that you can never truly completely run out of mana, but you still want to watch that. The problem is that even on hard, I wasn't finding that to be much of a problem, and all of the other fights are like, well, there's no point in me doing the clever stuff because I'm just hammering spacebar is fine enough as it is. It's very easy to get multiple buffs that will heal you at the end of the fight, heal you at the start of a fight, passively heal you under certain circumstances. So I was coming out of fights with more HP than I went in with, and I had just been hammering basic attack to do it. And I was bored. I was really honestly bored. And it would hardly be the only JRPG to be guilty of this, but a lot of JRPGs since then have figured out, we realize these fights can be not very challenging, so we're going to do something, either allow you to skip them, or we're going to have, like a Persona, we're going to have an auto attack mode, which is much faster on stuff that really isn't going to be much of a challenge. In this game, the only thing they have to compensate for it is at very, very low levels, if there's a massive level disparity between you and the enemy, you're allowed to just walk past the monster on the overworld. But that level disparity is going to be pretty big. I was forced to fight stuff 3 levels lower than me. The dungeon, even on hard, was throwing monsters 3 levels lower at me, and I hadn't done anything special up to that point. I just followed the main quest and done 1 or 2 side quests at most, and I was breezing it. And that was the real problem with it. I want this game to be more challenging, and I want it to be better paced, so I'm not stuck in a dungeon for 90 minutes knowing I'm going to beat the thing.
Where did you stop?
I stopped after beating the hard version of the Wolf Dungeon, basically.
So, all right. So, I know you won't because you didn't have fun.
Probably won't. I think if I'm not having fun 7 hours into a game, I probably don't want to go any further than that. But by all means, for the benefit of those who have more tolerance, feel free.
But challenge-wise, immediately after that, they're located nearby, because in that area and a few other places, you probably discovered flint. You're finding flint left and right. There's a cave nearby where if you use the flint, you unlock a fight with a giant fire elemental. That dude scorches you, so the entire time you're on fire, and it stacks. So he does more and more and more and more damage. So unless you're debuffing the entire time, he will Is that like an optional boss fight? Yes.
Then
there nearby is the next dungeon is, well, first off, back in town, there are clear the sewer missions. And
I've done those.
In the second clear the sewer mission, you clear slimes. And the very last boss is a giant, poop slime. it's lore reasons. Don't ask why. But that thing,
Lovely.
like that thing will fuck you up too. It was a level 12 quest. I went in there and it was just for some reason unnaturally difficult.
And what level were you when you hit it? I mean, because level 12. Because if I went back to town and did that now, my guys are level 9 or 10, so I'd definitely be under level for that.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember, but I think I was like 11 at the time. And then when you go to Junkertown, which is the next big dungeon, in that area, you're right. There are some enemies that are like cakewalks. You're like,
why are you even here? You know. Yeah.
But there are now enemies, especially on heroic difficulty, and anyone in chat who watched me play, like, I raged. There are these robots who their normal attacks do like half your life, and then he does a random like gun spray that sunders all of your characters. So if you can't clear that sunder off before he does his normal attack, you're insta killed.
Right.
And because they give you Nolan at that point, they give you another character at that point. My assumption was like, oh, I want to use Nolan to do this. Nolan can't help you. You have to use Bredo because like literally it was crazy. I died. I had to leave the dungeon 3-4 times. Like I got wrecked.
Right.
And it wasn't until I beat the dungeon and then I went back on my own and like grinded it out again that I realized that the new character you get at the end of the dungeon is really good in there. And so those guys are like super good XP. But yeah, like the difficulty ramps up real fast. So yeah, if difficulty is something that you are like, this didn't have a lot of that, it happens very quickly. And you're like, oh no, fuck this. Like it might be too difficult.
Basically, it seems like it's kind of all over the place. And the devs actually responded to me yesterday saying that that's exactly what they think has happened. That the difficulties are all over the place. It doesn't curve properly. So they're actually patching it either to it's in the next couple of days, which was really unfortunate fucking timing because I'd have held the video, but I've got treatment this week, so it's like I either have to do it yesterday or it's never getting done. So I think they're doing a thing which is going to sort the curve out, and I think that's probably going to help. But the issue being that, you know, if you've gone through a game, you spent 7 hours in it, and it's kind of a joke in terms of difficulty, it's like, how long do you keep going until you're like, I'm not having fun here? Do I have to keep slogging away? Will it eventually get fun? I'd rather it be fun from the beginning. They were just like, it was a big several-hour chunk, especially with that long-ass dungeon where I'm like, you know, this is, I just want to be done with this damn thing. I know I'm not going to lose, even on hard difficulty, but I'm just slogging through the fights. It would, to me, I think it would be helpful if you had access to Legendary right from the beginning. And just like, the fact that you have to go into a dungeon twice to get the Legendary chest, I think is a little annoying, especially bearing in mind that, as you said, that's a 90-minute dungeon. And that's going to take even longer on Legendary difficulty, in theory. And it seems like the levels were all off as well, so...
Well, the game's
maybe it gets better.
The game's designed so you go back multiple times. Like, I think that's the point. You're supposed to.
Well, I mean, I hate that idea in the first place. Like, I don't really want to go back to the same dungeon multiple times.
Well, the dungeon's randomized, so every time you go in them, the order of the rooms is different and the shape of the dungeon is different.
Is it still the same kind of enemies in there, though?
I mean, yes and no. Actually, so I went back into Junkertown, and the first time there were a lot of mimics for some damn reason. And the second time I went in, I had a lot of a new type of cannon tank that I'd never seen before.
Right.
And so I guess maybe there's a set list of enemies that appear, and then there's a few randos that show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no mimics the second time I went in, and then dungeon was different. But what I did realize is that one, like, you're supposed to do multiple. Like, it's definitely obvious because one run through, when I left, I had, because there's like little lore tidbits you can pick up.
Yes.
And each one of those, once you complete all 4, all 3, or all 5 of them, you get a bonus of some sort.
Yes.
And so I my first run through, I completed 2 of the story bits, and then one was like 3 or 4. And I was like, well, I guess I'll pick it up when I go back through my second run through. Second run through, I go through, not only do I find that one, but I discovered an entire other story list. So now there's an entire other bit of lore that I didn't even find on my first run through. So you're definitely supposed to go back and do it multiple times is I think the point. But again, if that's not your jam, then you'll be like, well, I'm bored. So I get it.
And it's not my jam. Like, and I freely admit that it's going to be a lot of other people's jam. And that's why I went really in depth in the video on the combat system, and I was very keen to point out, look, this combat system is really good. Like, it's got some really cool ideas in it. I love Overcharge in particular. I love being able to use Overcharge either as bonus mana or to power up certain abilities to make them super, super good. The equipment system is great. I'm a sucker for procs on weapons. I fucking love it. And since the crafting system is really well fleshed out, although I must say they were very stingy with the amount of crafting stations. They taught me how to enchant, and then through the entire dungeon, there was not a single fucking enchanting station in the dungeon. And there's no crafting stations outside of dungeons, with the exception of the alchemy one. So I'm like, I just learned how to enchant. I want to enchant something, and I can't do it because the game didn't deign to randomly generate me a fucking crafting station to do it.
Die?
No.
Death in that game is like old school Final Fantasy 11 levels of punishment, where when you die, it takes away a percentage of your gold.
Ooh, that stings.
No.
Yeah.
And I died 3 or 4 times in that junk town level and was just like,
cool. Do you know if they ever put crafting stations with the exception of the alchemy table in Harm's Way Town? Or is it all you've got to be in the dungeons to do it?
Well, I don't know, because you can upgrade the buildings. And
yes,
when you upgrade
can.
the buildings, you get access to new recipes and new things.
Yes.
And so
I've done that.
Yeah, I don't know, because it feels very much like Diablo, where you're upgrading all the different like workers.
Yeah, you're upgrading the vendors to and you get access to like uncommons and new recipes and everything like that.
I'm very
like
curious if eventually you do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Because there's all those little quests and there's one part where I'm level 14, 15 right now, and I still can't get the wolf lady to be like, yeah, I'll train you. I don't know what she was trying to train me in. So, unless that's the additional ability thing, where like when you hit 10, you get access to your second level of super ability.
Of burst, yeah.
Yeah, your burst ability. But I guess, it gives you what's weird is it gives you the option to keep training, but like, unless you unlock it, I guess you can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So chat who've played it a bit more apparently is claiming if you get a building to level 3, which by the way is quite pricey, then you get access to a crafting station at that building. In order to do that, because I upgraded the smithy to level 2, that was 1,000 gold. That's
5,000 for 3,
5,000 for level 3. Relatively, that's quite a lot of gold, especially bearing in mind, of course, if you start dying, you lose it. Like, everything else about that game, with the exception of a couple of things, like just which are minor complaints, like the map doesn't show you where you are on it. Like, a "you are here" would be very nice on that map.
Oh, when you go to the big world map?
Yeah. And secondly, the overworld, like, the aesthetic of the game and the art style is awesome, but the overworld seems really damn out of place. The art style isn't the same as the rest of the game. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with the comic books. Did they use that art style at all in the comic books? Is that something I'm missing? Or it just looked like it wasn't supposed to be there?
I want to, well, first off, no, it's not in the comics. But I want to say that having played this at E3 2 years ago, I feel like what happened was the game was originally just the dungeon parts, and then they felt like they had to expand it to give you the overworld map, because the overworld map kind of almost feels like an afterthought.
It does.
And I feel like a lot of people, when they played the dungeon parts at E3 and then at all the other events, were like, fuck yeah, this is great. I can't wait to play the rest. And they were like,
it's Cuphead all over again.
It is Cuphead. It feels like that Cuphead vibe where they have a really cool visual style and like a really cool thing. And then people are like, can't wait to see what else you got. And they're like, oh shit, we need to come with some more.
Oh shit, we need other things. Yeah.
I feel like that might be it, but I could totally be wrong. But it definitely has that feel where it's like, I get that it's there and it's you moving from place to place. But, you know, there's treasure chests and like a lot of stuff is like, yeah, it's back on the world map, but it's very just like you're walking along the path and you're playing the board game of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't look like the rest of it. But yeah, like it does feel like an afterthought. Outside of that, like, I think, you know, there's a core of a really good game in there if I had the patience to find it. But people in chat are saying, for one, they're massively nerfing the cost of that level 3 upgrade, apparently to 2K, because evidently they thought it was too expensive as well. So it seems like, you know, maybe I come back in a week and see what they've done with the pacing of it. But right now, as of, the game's been out for like a week and a bit. If I had done what other people had done and reviewed it on launch, I would have had the exact same complaints. So if you have tolerance for that, and if you have time to spare, there's a lot of good stuff going on in that game.
Also,
some nice
all the
twists
cutscenes are done by the team that did Castlevania. So
Indeed.
the Castlevania Animu.
Yeah,
So it's
some good stuff there.
Cool.
I love the art style. The aesthetic's great. The animation quality is very good. Really nice hit sounds. So it sounds like you really clobbered a dude.
The sound design of the game is great.
I love the music.
Like, really good, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I say, it's too much. There's too much old JRPG grind in there for me to enjoy it in its current state. But if you are the kind of person that can tolerate that,
not enjoy it.
yes, yeah, I can't get over that. There are some games that let me get over that, like Persona. This is not one of them. But if you are into that kind of thing, or you can tolerate it, Battlechasers is a pretty damn good game, as far as I'm concerned.
It is fun.
Yeah, but I did not like it, which was, I was not happy that I did not like it. I wanted to.
If there were fewer enemies and more encounters were more complicated, would you have liked it more?
Yes.
Is that the main part?
I would have
pretty
liked
much.
it less.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting difference. The I think you're limited to only 3 enemies on the screen, and then there can be waves of enemies.
Right.
Like if you can, in a dungeon, you can pull multiple. There's a little icon that appears if enemies are next to each other, which is a little link, which indicates that they're all going to fight you. But if there's more than 3, that means there's going to be another wave of them afterwards. You can do certain things with that. You could screw with it. You can even, which I found to be particularly cool, there's an dungeon ability for each character. One of them's like ground slam, and if you time it right, it's kind of like in Persona where if you ambush somebody, you could slam the ground and then immediately go into the fight, and the enemies will be stunned for 1 turn. There's another one where you can...
at level 10, for example, Calibretto gets a gun where you can fire, and then they're on fire.
It's pretty neat, yeah.
There's one ability where Nolan can like reveal hidden enemies on the map. And then all those abilities also act as, so for example, Gully's ground pound also reveals hidden shit on the map. So you don't want to always use that to stun enemies, because that's how you get access to hidden treasures.
Yes, yeah. You have a limited number of use before you go back to rest and get them back. So you got to be careful with it.
But speaking of waves, what I think is really cool is the other day I was playing, and this guy, it was like a bandit. It was a bandit and then like a bigger enemy. I was focusing on the bigger enemy, and the bandit's like, "Yo, I'm out," and he ran away. And the ability he used was like blow the horn or something like that. And all of a sudden there was another like wave added on to the fight, and he came back with 2 more bandits.
I can just imagine it. He goes away, gets a trumpet out. It's John Cena. And there you go.
John
Invisible
Cena
enemy.
shows up, but he's invisible.
But he's invisible, of course. Yeah, he's in stuff. Can't see him. So, and then he will get wrecked. It's just how it goes. But yeah, there's the caveat for Battlechasers. Like, how tolerant are you of JRPG grindy bullshit? If you are tolerant of that, or if this patch really hits it on the head, great. Pretty damn cool game. If not, maybe give it a pass. That's the state that I was in. I'm giving it a pass at this point. Maybe come back later.
I played the second chapter of Batman Enemy Within.
Okay.
How was it?
I think that this second game is like so much better in every way. Like, I enjoyed the first one, but it felt kind of samey, with all of the other Telltale games.
That is a common problem.
Yeah, I enjoyed the changes that they made to, the Batman lore, and that they took a lot of liberties with it. I think that there's so many iterations of Batman that I appreciated, that they were just like, fuck it, let's go off the rails, right? This second one, I think, has been like a vast improvement in terms of how the game plays. It's much more straightforward. And like I was saying last time when I talked about the first chapter, you can actually die. You can actually like fuck up a QTE and die.
And lose,
whereas
yes.
In the first one, they were like, you hit the wrong button? That's okay, buddy. You still got a couple seconds. And you'd be like, oh, that wasn't Q. Oh, all right, I'm good. Like it just, there's no tension there. This newest chapter is really, really cool because the entire chapter focuses on like forcing Batman / Bruce Wayne, depending on the scene, into situations where he has to do like morally, like potentially, depending on what you choose, like morally kind of fucked up shit.
Okay.
And I really appreciated that because, you know, Batman is all about like, I have my code and this is how I do things, and like, fuck everybody else. Like, people don't die, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's been really interesting having sort of more of an infiltration storyline and having to play a role of like, no, I'm a bad person. Right? Like, being given all of these choices back to back where you're just like, fuck, I don't know which one is the right thing to do, right? It's cool. I really liked this most recent chapter. It was about the same length as all of the other ones. It was like a couple hours, but I thought that this was out of both games, I thought this was the strongest chapter that they've had so far. So
good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I haven't touched a Telltale game in a long time, just because I felt
I
like
don't
they
blame
were
you.
all the same damn thing. It would have to be a IP that I was extremely interested in. Like, I would be
Warhammer 40K, Telltale.
You know, it's weird that you bring that up because I was about to mention another sponsor on a show where we're sponsored by something else. Like, that might not go down any well. But let's just say I acquired an audiobook of Eisenhorn, which is the consistently recommended as like the best 40K book. I've read all of them, but I wanted to listen to them again. And they actually tried to make a game of that was in some ways a bit Telltale, in other ways a kind of really bad third-person Arkham style combat thing. It was bad at everything, unfortunately. But if they were, you know, if Telltale were to make a 40K game like that, which was mostly sort of inquisitorial investigation as opposed to combat, you know, the 40K universe, despite a lot of people viewing it as it's all fighty-fighty. There's a lot of fighty-fighty, but there is still some really cool plot and intrigue in that universe as well. I would probably play that. But then again, I also thought I'd be really into the Game of Thrones one, and I ended up not being. So maybe
that one was garbage across the board.
God, maybe I'm just
like Game of Thrones or not.
Yeah.
If you like Game of Thrones, it's even more garbage. You're like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Not my Thrones.
Are they still using the same engine as they did in the Walking Dead one? That's the only one I've played of theirs.
Yes.
Yeah. Still.
They've not changed engines yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that head shake's accurate. That's what you should be doing.
Indeed. Well, yeah, so that's that. Okay, who's got something else to throw into the ring? What you got? Has anyone actually, well, I guess, has anyone had a chance? I installed it last night. I haven't played it. Anyone played any Shadow of War as of yet?
I've just watched people play it.
Yeah, it's sitting on my desktop. I'm gonna play it when we're done. But like, I haven't had a chance, but I've watched people play it, and I am gonna wait and see. But some of the voice acting choices are like, is this
you
for
don't
the,
like them?
Is this for the goof? No, some of them are like not. I'm not okay with it because no, it's probably like acting wise great. Voice wise, like, why? I don't know. The lines of dialogue.
My favorite orcs are the ones that sound like my next door neighbor. Like every now and then, like, you know how there are situations where there's two different orcs that have names and get like a line and all that. There will be one that sounds really gruff and super orcish, and then the next one will be like, "Yes, and we will destroy the kingdom of man. We, the orcs."
Yes.
Like,
we're on the like, oi, oi, oi.
I still love it though.
Like so for example, Kumail Nanjiani's character is this, you know, it's just his voice as an orc, but the lines of dialogue they give him are like, "I'll rip your flesh." Flesh ripping so weird, don't you think? Like, why would I? It's like, what is happening right now? Are you for the goof? Is this game for the goofs?
To some extent, I mean, the orcs have always been to some extent for the goofs. But I don't know like, to what level you really want to push that in a game like this.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a line where it's like, you've gone too far. And I feel like they made a character for the funny goof, and the character, like, annoys me. I hate it. He's like...
I found Ratbag was like that a lot in the first one.
Ratbag was a goofy character, but he was still in-world goofy. This character is like, I'm going to comment on my own shit because I know you, the player, will think it's funny, rather than like it making sense for the world. and that drives me
Yeah.
crazy. I just want it to be like, at least pretend like we're gonna try with a lore. I know you've made another ring and like you're off the rails completely, but like pretend for me that I can still think this is like something happening off on the side while Aragorn's like doing his shit. Like, give me that. Like,
They apparently that like lore wise they have just fucking
they're like,
thrown
fuck it,
everything
we
out
don't
the
care.
window. They don't give a fuck. And like if you're really into Tolkien's lore, I'm okay with whenever something good does this, and it's like I don't care. I'm not viewing this as canonical. I don't actually give a shit.
Is it canon? Have they said?
No,
that
absolutely
doesn't
not.
matter? Okay.
No.
That's fine then. It's
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. And even if they did say it was, I also don't give a shit because they're probably not referencing it in anything else other than video games. It's like it's not going to become a movie or anything. So, like, who gives a damn at that
Like,
point?
it just like here's a great example. So you fight this guy, and one of the fights is he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have your head." Pause. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it once I get it, but I'm gonna do something with it. It's like,
I'd get a giggle out of that.
like I get it. I get the goof, but it's like it pains me to get the goof. I'm like, why are we goofing? Why we gotta goof? I don't know. It's just a personal thing, I guess. Like, I think it's a fine voice. I think he'd be fine as like the new rat bag, but they're just like, we're gonna make it extra like world breaking goofy, which pisses me off. I don't know why. I get so mad about it. I'm like, why?
Yeah. As much as, the game is surrounded by pretty horrendous bullshit and everything. Sorry, Dodger, if you're attempting to talk, you've been muted for God knows how
I just
long.
noticed that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, say the thing you were going to say, because I feel like I
was gonna
interrupted you
say
even
that
though I really
there are
didn't.
multiple tiers of orcs, and some of them are really fucking stupid, and some of them are smart.
I understand that, but this is like, he's smart, but has no confidence orc, and then like has to, it's like the comedian orc, which I find like, what? Whatever. That's all I'm saying.
I've
It's
heard there are
just-
several
care
bard
anymore.
orcs. Like, there are orcs that play instruments and stuff like that, which, I don't know, despite all the bullshit, it's hard not to at least get a bit excited because, like, with the previous game, I had so many cool stories of how the Nemesis system created a unique scenario for me. I'm just hoping, but I don't know, after reading that Rock Paper Shotgun article about how best to exploit Shadow Wars, it's almost like, again, in order for the Nemesis system to actually play out at its best, you have to deliberately fuck up, which doesn't seem right. I'm hoping they've done something about that.
Or you let them run, or you like beat them down, and then when they're about to surrender, you let them run away, and then they power up, and you can fight them again.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Like,
Because that's how you cheat the system.
yeah, but
Please.
it shouldn't
That's
be
how you
like that
cheat.
though. Like, I don't know. It was when we talked about this on the episode with Angry Centaur game where he pointed out in the first one that he was basically had been told by the publisher that he had basically reviewed it wrong because he hadn't used the Nemesis system correctly. And he's like, well, I never had any of this stuff because instead of, dying like you asked me to do, I just killed shit. But apparently they've done some things with it, like apparently you get better loot if they survive later on. And if the overall goal is to create powerful orcs which you can then take control of and then use to depose other people, I guess I see the point of that. I just want to make sure. And in the first one it was weird because it took so long to get the dominate ability that, like, by the time you got there, it was like, oh, so I should have kind of not been murdering these guys then, because maybe I would have got these guys. I don't know. Hopefully, I assume they let you do this right from the start this time, instead of getting it 14 hours into the game.
Yeah, one of the big features is taking over the forts. That shit's cool as hell. When you make your army of orcs, you have all your little lieutenants, and you can pick ones and then give them based on what their stats are. As like the more powerful they get, the more different units they get.
Yeah.
And so you can have one guy who's like warg riders, and one guy who's like the siege gull, like it's fucking awesome. And then
It's
when
hard,
you
it's
enter the
hard not
battle,
to get
all
excited
your
about
orcs
that.
behind you, like, yeah, and it's cool as shit. It's great. I love that stuff. And then you lead a battle against this fort, and you fight versus the enemy, and you take points, and like that shit's awesome, especially for a single player game. That's really cool.
Well, I want to see how durable that system is. How long can I use that system without getting bored? Because a lot of these open world games do rely on this very repeatable gameplay loop. And is there enough depth to the fort attack and defense system to keep people interested? I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I play it.
Yeah, I'm hoping against hope this one actually has a final boss. Trollolol.
I don't know what's going on with that. Like,
That was an incredible ending to a game. There was like the final boss, and there
It's
was no
a
boss
quick
fight.
time event, and it isn't even a boss at all.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't even know what's going on with the supposed true ending, because there's a couple of... There was people, Polygon, of course, talking about the true ending, GameSpot, and then there was like another article that said, well, the true ending doesn't matter. And then there was an article saying there isn't a true ending. I'm like, what? But then that entire site was plastered with pre-order Shadow of War stuff and everything. I'm like, okay. That's like, this sounds like a bit of shilling going on, and I know the depths that Warner Brother Games will go to recruit influencers to do shilling bullshit and keep them under NDA with it. So I don't know who to trust on this. I'm just going to play it and see what happens.
A lot of conflicting information.
There's a huge amount of it. Yeah.
That's not good at all.
Which is what happens when you massively restrict who gets review copies for your game, because you're terrified of anyone who would be remotely critical of it. Oh dear. Okay. Anyone else got another game they'd like to throw into the ring?
I'm trying to think of what else I've played, but I think that might be it.
Talk a little bit about Road Redemption, I guess.
Sure.
That went into early access years ago, and people were like, it's gonna be the new Road Rash. I'm like, I loved Road Rash. That was a great game. And then it was kind of panned. Someone were like, okay, wrote it off. We've been burned before. Carmageddon, whatever the new Carmageddon was, or whatever, Reincarnated, or whatever the fuck it was called, was a bit of a mess. And like, this could have been good, but you fucked it up. But then it came out of early access like last week or the week before. It's pretty good. It's a really good motorcycle combat game, and it's quite funny. With the writing, they just went all out Carmageddon style, swearing their heads off. Mostly Aussies, that helps it out a lot.
Yeah.
So if you want the main boss, calling you every insult in the book, it'll do that. And it's also a game where they have specifically put a system in it where you can knock off someone's motorcycle helmet with like a club or a spade or a stick, then get out a sword and chop their head off, and you get double points. It's kind of wonderful. This game doesn't give a damn about driving physics. It's very arcadey. You can get fucking jump jets for your goddamn bike, for God's sake. But the way that they've done it is they have a campaign which is semi-randomized, and thankfully as you go through, you get sort of like permanent upgrades. So they kind of went the roguelite style of doing things. And those upgrades include the ability to skip the first few levels. So if you get bored, and it's like, oh, I don't want to see the goddamn desert again, you could skip it. So that's pretty cool. And the game is designed clearly around multiple playthroughs because it has a huge number of ridiculous unlockable characters. Shovel Knight's in there. I'm pretty sure I saw Isaac in there maybe, and a bunch of others. Santa Claus is available as a playable character. Satan. There's some good shit in there. And Satan is a playable character. And interestingly enough, each of these characters has different things they can do, and they change the play style of the game. So some of them are like, you can't do this at all, or you have infinite this, and etc., etc. And it's just a really fun, violent, arcadey racer where they toss different objectives at you all the time. It's not just about winning races. A lot of the times it's like kill 7 marked targets, or defend your allies, or get a certain amount of money, kill a boss, all that sort of thing. And sometimes they have these random modifiers where one of them was, you're hallucinating, trucks are falling from the sky. And that is literally what is happening. The game is throwing trucks at you as you race through. It's a stupid, fun, silly game, is what it is. It is. It is really, really neat, and it only gets more ridiculous the further on the game. You get a goddamn grappling hook and do bullshit with that, throw people off their bikes, jump jet over massive obstacles. It's one of those few games where if you go off the track, you often don't just instantly die. Like, it gives you a chance to get back on it, or whatever. So, the levels are actually a lot larger than they initially appear. So, some pretty cool stuff you can do with that. It's just, if you liked Road Rash, which I did a lot, and you wanted a silly arcadey motorbike game that involves a lot of violence and being able to shoot people or decapitate them, there's not a huge market for that, or many games within that genre. This game is not only in that genre, but it's also quite good at it too. So, there you go. There's a little bit of a recommendation. If you see that one on the cheap, you'll get quite a lot of entertainment out of that. Only problem I had with it was the multiplayer mode's a bit throwaway. They've got like one multiplayer mode, which is sort of like a team battle mode, There's no custom lobbies or anything. Like, it's clear they just kind of put that in as an afterthought. It would be, hopefully they expand that out a little bit more. Otherwise, though, pretty damn fun game, in my opinion. I liked it. It's one of those good early access success stories. We don't get enough of those.
It's true.
We really don't. So, nice to see that. That was pretty cool.
I think I was saying on stream last night that I would have loved to see something like this in Ruiner as a mini game, because you go on a motorbike on Ruiner.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and I thought that would be cool, like a cyberpunk version of that. A little more serious, maybe. Yeah, that'd be neat.
I'd be really happy with that. That would be great. And otherwise, I've just been continuing with XCOM. I did the first fight against the Chosen, beat one of the Chosen, got the Chosen's weapons, and the guy who has the Chosen's weapons is a absolute beast now. One of these days, he's going to get crit and killed. You know he will. But right now, I just run him into the middle of a group and he's got a bunch of abilities. So anyone that tries to attack him, Blade Storm. Anyone that tries to move away, Blade Storm. Anyone that successfully hits, Blade Storm, and then gets melted by Hellweave that he's wearing underneath his armor. It's just like the combination of bullshit that you can throw at the game. That's what I really like about XCOM. XCOM bullshits you all the time, but it gives you the opportunity to bullshit back. Like, everything is overpowered in that game, and I love that feeling.
Yeah, Sam got to a point where everybody had died except for one character, and this one character was just like a wrecking machine, and he was like, well, I'm just going to take them into a mission by themselves, I guess. Let's just see how this goes. And the character lasted like a
pretty
little too long. Right? Like, yeah.
There are definitely times when, especially considering later on in the game, as you get higher level, you can put them in the training center and they semi-randomize this third available ability. Sometimes there are some just silly combinations. Like, if you get Blade Storm on a Templar who's already a ridiculous, like, psychic melee dual-wheel warrior, it's just like, this guy is blocking shots, he's running and deflecting bullets back at people, anyone who gets anywhere near him gets chopped into fine kibbles. It's pretty crazy. It's seeing quite a few people going back and playing another session of Long War after they've beaten this, because they just felt like they wanted a bit more of a slower-paced, more advanced version that was maybe a little bit more tactical, where War of the Chosen is the very bombastic, crazy version. I think this one in particular, Long War is a bit more of a patient, slow burner. But
okay, I can never get into XCOM. Would you recommend trying that then? Because that sounds a little more exciting.
I would always, if you're into XCOM 2, I don't know if War of the Chosen is changing that idea, or are you referring to Long War there?
I only played the first one, and it was all right, but it never grabbed me. I was more interested in the base building part between the missions when you could upgrade that.
Okay, so you might like, but XCOM 2's got some interesting ideas on that. War of the Chosen and the Long War mod have two different ways of doing it. War of the Chosen, not only do you've got your base building, but your base flies now, so it goes all over the world, and you got a bit of base building in there, but you also have building up resistance contacts, and as you increase your faction influence with these 3 different factions on the map, they offer you new orders that you can issue every month that combine together. So it's kind of a more meta aspect. You can send agents out on missions that you don't participate in, that can have different results and rewards. You can build up your forces with bonds now, so you can someone can get a partner who they kind of bond with and get better. And there's aspects of that to it. So I think there's a bit more in XCOM 2 in that regard.
Okay.
It's still compared to the really old games where they were a bit more emphasized on base building because base could be attacked and stuff. There's not a lot of that, but I say War of the Chosen, it's so packed with content. Like, it's like the oldest school expansion you can think of, when expansion was like a whole different game. Like, and War of the Chosen is basically that. There's so much new stuff in it. It's bonkers. You're always being confronted with cool choices. Cool. I like that.
Okay. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? $80 down the drain is the worst that could happen, but hey. Plus photo booth, propaganda photos. The game has an in-game propaganda photo booth. It's the best, and I'll never get tired of it. Oh dear. Okay, since we're about wrapped up on games, folks, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, the news of the week, and we've been picking through the pile of detritus that constitutes the release list. We found a couple of things that look quite interesting, though, so we're going to point those out to you in the release section of the show. You'll be watching the Co-Optional podcast, hopefully after this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast. We will never stop playing the Cuphead soundtrack. Just letting you know. Okay, we've got releases coming up. We've been digging through the pile for that one, but it's been a fairly light news week, all things considered. I think there's been a lot of loot box controversy, but we pretty much covered that at the start of the show, so I don't think there's really a lot we can bring to the table on that. So we're going to have something of a open news segment. So if you have something you want to bring to the table, whether it be a topic or some people like news, this is an invitation to the host, not to the people in the chat. Although feel free to suggest something anyway. Maybe we might have a look at that. But there is a little piece of news that I'd like to cover, which is StarCraft 2's arcade upgrade. This has been asked for since StarCraft 2 came out. So for those who don't know, StarCraft 2 has a fairly extensive list of mods, which are officially in the game, and it's custom games in what they call the arcade. So, back with Brood War, you had what was called UMS, Use Map Settings, which is where Aeon of Strife came from, which is where Dota then came from, Dota, of course, was introduced in Warcraft 3. Things like Wintermore Wars and Tower Defense basically originated in StarCraft. So the arcades, it's been quite quiet because, honestly, while there's been some great games that came out in it, like Smashcraft or like Star Strikers, which is a really cool StarCraft football game, it's very fun to play, the way that you found lobbies in the game was not particularly well thought out. A lot of people wanted it to come back to the old Warcraft 3 method where you went there and you had a list of custom-named lobbies that you just joined and then you played a bunch of games together. Well, finally, we're actually pretty much getting that. After a long time, the arcade revamp is coming, and it's coming very soon because they released the patch notes, which usually indicates that a patch is actually coming this week. So we don't know if that's true, but it is entirely possible. And it includes a number of different interesting upgrades, including that the arcade top navigation system has been removed, and they've basically taken custom games and made that whole section lobbies, which are public and open lobbies for Melee and arcade maps. Melee, which lets you create new lobbies for Melee maps with extension mods if you want them. And Arcade, which lets you make new lobbies for arcade maps. And you can create them with individual custom titles. And the number of players and all that kind of thing. And it can display multiple lobbies for the same map simultaneously. So you could be like, Star Strikers, 5-player team, noobs only, or experts only, etc., etc. You can do all that kind of stuff. And you can change games and do all that kind of thing. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal. It really is. For those who wanted to play the arcade and have been big advocates for the arcade, we've wanted this kind of thing for a while. And the arcade, for those who don't know, has been free for ages. You can download Blizzard Arcade, which is basically the starter edition of StarCraft 2. You can play all those games for free. So since I have a mod coming out for StarCraft 2 very, very soon, extremely soon, I'm not going to tell you all about it. I'm not going to do that, because I've had a policy of not talking about it until it's actually done, which it almost is. It's coming out this month.
Are you going to get it before launch, or is this going to be like launch day thing?
It's a launch day. You already know about this. I've been telling these guys. They know what's going on, but they have been sworn to secrecy on pain of death.
Yeah, but I'm still going to give you crap, so
yeah,
why can't we see it until launch day?
Because it ain't ready.
What are you hiding?
I don't release things until they're ready. Thank you very much. We'll see whether or not that was a good idea. But yeah, arcade upgrade looks like it's coming this week. Now would be a great time to re-download the Starter Edition or StarCraft 2 and play some good arcade games. Star Strikers is a great recommendation. There's several versions that are basically Warcraft 3 with all the original units. There's a bunch of boss fight mods which are really fun to play. You can fight against bosses from like World of Warcraft and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of different choices. And of course, every tower defense map you could ever want in the universe is on there, including Elemental TD, the best TD, is on there. So
it really is.
Super good TD. Love it. Love it to death. Right, so yeah, that was my little piece of news. Anyone got anything that they've noticed that's been going on this week that they're really itching to talk about?
Dude, everybody's fucking talking about loot boxes. That's what every article's about right now.
I know. And we've kind of already covered that, so...
Did you know Shadow of War is a really big download?
75 gigs. Yeah,
that's big. Yeah.
It's fairly big.
That's huge. That's a big download.
I've got some news.
Okay.
Tamagotchis, they're coming back.
No.
The physical keychain Tamagotchi. It's their 20th anniversary.
They were bad then, they're bad now.
New ones or the same ones? Just they're coming back.
What a great question.
Yeah,
I'll find out for you.
Okay.
Some people are saying it's bigger than that.
I've noticed is still, you guys talked about last week, is the difficulty in games thing is still going on. And
to some extent, yeah.
Always. Yeah.
I mean, we had a long discussion about it last week. Like, I don't know if you want to throw some of your opinion in it, by all means. I mean, we had a very long discussion about it. I don't know if we can add anything to that, but you can go for it by all means.
Well, I keep going back and forth on it. Actually, I'm finding it hard to really nail down what I think, because I think there's no such thing as bad accessibility. Like, and I think especially when it comes to people that struggle playing games, physically struggle playing games, that needs to be a factor. But at the same time, the kind of conclusion I'm sitting on now is that it's kind of like a horror movie, and it's kind of like complaining that a horror movie shouldn't be scary because I want to watch it. You know, that sort of thing. And
maybe
some games should be difficult because that's the point. But at the same time, it really spoke to me when you said earlier about Battlechasers being too easy. And I think that's the other side of the problem, is that you always want to have this good state of being challenged but not being too challenged, and not being bored because you're not being challenged. And I think almost every game has that, and I think that should be part of the discussion. I don't think there should be a skip button. I think there should be something that if you are struggling enough on it, that maybe it should be like the Tanuki suit in Mario 3D World. It should be something that helps you get through it, but it doesn't do it for you. You can still get through it. But
I mean,
specifically is getting it because of how it looks. I think everyone wants to see the art in that game. But then I've heard it said, and I thought that was quite an interesting point, was that maybe it's difficult because they want you to stare at the art for a long time, and they want you to struggle on it a little bit to get the most out of it. No?
Possibly. There's a possibility of it. I could end up staring so long at it that I fucking resent the art.
Yeah,
I mean,
just the other way too.
There's the other side of that. I mean, I personally think there's a nice, easy solution to all of this that requires very little effort. Just bring back fucking cheat codes.
Yeah, that's what I said too when I was talking
fair.
in my Discord about it when it was coming out. Yeah, just bring back the cheat codes. That used to be a thing.
Yeah, this is
no cow level.
The ability to get past this stuff has been in games forever and takes very little effort to put back in. Like, and you can solve that problem straight away. You want to call it cheating? I mean, okay, maybe we're like, well, that's not fair. I shouldn't be called a cheater. Oh, whatever. You know, I don't mind. I had no problem using my Sonic 2 cheat, and I remember it because I remember back in the day on television, I actually watched them explain the cheat code. You go, and they did it in a weird accent. It sounded like this. You go towards the level select screen, and you select the following numbers. Or, what was it? 19, 65, 09, 17. Then starts the game. When Sonic appears and waggles his finger, you press ABC Start twice, and that will open the level select. And it literally sounded mostly like that. I think it was on a Bad Influence or Games Master. I can't remember which TV show in the UK that had that, but I'm pretty sure that is the level select screen 2 for Sonic 2 through the sound test screen. And I used that to skip Oil Ocean a lot because I fucking hated that level. You know, I got stuck in Oil Ocean. I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking done with it. So I'm going to skip it. That didn't harm the game in any way. And I have fond memories of Sonic 2 because I was able to get past that stupid fucking oil level. So
I think there's something charming about the old cheat codes that needed you to do all those things. It's like part of gaming history that they were so obscure.
Yeah.
I
think the internet kind of ruins that, obviously, to some extent, but I don't see the harm in putting those back into games. Like, that basically solves the problem outright, you know? People want to cheat to look at some other stuff. Great. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think anyone should have a problem with it. As long as it doesn't affect the enjoyment of anybody else, and it shouldn't, then just let them do it. Just let them skip through. It's not a problem. I'm okay with it. Quick little piece of news. This is relevant. If you do not own Hellblade yet, today is a good time to buy it because they are donating all of the proceeds from sales of Hellblade today to a mental health charity to highlight, of course, World Mental Health Awareness Day, which is today. So
awesome.
There's a little thing for you. Yep, might want to do that and consider it's about as appropriate a game as you could get for raising awareness on that particular subject. That's good. Oh, all right. What else we got on the games news part of things? Is just
Dude, I can't find shit.
Yeah, man, I'm looking. I can't find jack or shit.
The first in-game footage of Jurassic World Evolution came out, and it doesn't look crap. That's nice.
I love the idea of that game. I love the idea of that game.
God, yeah. I mean, I liked Operation Genesis was the attempt to do it before, and it wasn't brilliant, but it's a cool idea for a game. It's a very cool idea for a game. And this footage, God, if the game looks anything like this, then holy shit, like they're not messing around. Let's bump it down there so you can see a little bit more of it, but the detail is fantastic in this. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to turn this into a park simulator, basically, but if it looks anything like this, then wow. That's some impressive stuff. Even for early dev, great texture work, excellent animation. Yeah. I'm a little excited about that. Not that that tells us anything about the mechanics, but yeah.
I don't give a shit about a campaign if they make it. I don't give a shit about like all the other features. I just want to make pens of dinosaurs and like trap unsuspecting idiots inside and watch what happens. That's all I want.
It sounds like you might be able to do something like that. But
all I want.
Hopefully they just give you a sandbox mode where you can go to town and just do all that stupid shit.
Build my own Jurassic Park, but it's like Fight Club Jurassic Park where it's like T-Rexes fighting shit.
Evil Genius meets Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Oh.
I hope you have a possession ability so you can adopt like a walk around at eye level. I think that'd be pretty cool.
There's a morality system in there where it's like, why are we breeding the dinosaurs? For scientific research or for war and world domination? Unleash the Stegosaurus. So that's a herbivore. Irrelevant. Unleash them anyway. That sounds really interesting. Kind of out of nowhere as well, again, and there's another little interesting point on my little radar, Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries, first hands-on on that, by the guys that made Mechwarrior Online, and some people are like, oh no. Well, here's the thing about that. It's a single-player game, so it looks like it's going to just be a straight-up box purchase. The main issue with Mechwarrior Online was not that it was a bad game. It was actually quite a good game. It was a pretty good sim. The community for it is actually very nice. Like, they're very tied together. They're big into the role-playing aspect of it and teamwork, because that game really needs that. And the mech combat was good. And a lot of graphically, it was quite an impressive-looking game for the most part. Some gnarly textures here and there, but not bad. They're making it on the same engine, so it's going to be on Crytek engine. It's going to look good. And it's a full-on single-player campaign. The problem with the game was the business model. It was exploitative as fuck. For a single-player game, though, I'm not so worried about that, obviously. Although, looking at Shadow of War, maybe I should be. But it looks like maybe this might be pretty fucking cool. I hope so. So I'm glad to hear that that's being made. First Battle Royale game announced for Nintendo Switch, apparently, called Crazy Justice.
Ah, yes, of course. Crazy Justice, my favorite Battle Royale game.
Including building and upgrading system, destructible environments, cross-platform support, customizable skill deck. Yeah, well, looks like, the flood has begun. But I'm just looking at the very early footage here, and it's like, yep, parachuting in. Actually, start with a gun. That doesn't sound right at all. What's up with that? Starting with a gun? Nah, I'm not okay with that. What's the point? These look like very small levels as well. It doesn't look like a Battle Royale really whatsoever, frankly, but...
Already you're going to get people saying, no, it's a Battle Royale-like or light,
Oh, God,
You start with a gun, so it doesn't count,
No.
Yep, doesn't count.
They watched this show, and they heard when TB was like, I just wish that there wasn't any downtime. And they were like, all right, how do we cut out all downtime?
Maybe not to that extent. Okay, is this my fault?
Downtime.
Are you blaming me for this now? It's my fault. You actually land and you instantly win the game. No downtime.
You either win or you die instantly the second you touch down.
The map's actually like 1 foot square. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I want to make that game. Where everybody, it's like, oh my God, it's like a shitload of people and you're all ever so slowly falling and you can see one square that you can land on safely. And so everybody has to like try to slowly move to the square and like push each other out of the way.
Oh man, there's a fucking potential in that being like a full party game. Like you could do all sorts of bullshit to like sabotage other people's parachute, shove them out of the way, maybe like falling in the air. There's probably like things you can pick up. Reminds me of there was a stage in Power Stone 2 where you started on an airship, the airship exploded, and then you fell through the air, and you were fighting as you fell through the air to get the umbrella to let you land without taking damage. You could build a whole game around that.
Oh my god.
Kind of cool.
I'd be up for that. Also, give me another Power Stone game. What the fuck's wrong with you, Capcom? Jesus, Power Stone's so good.
That idea is free.
There you go.
Anybody who wants to make that stupid idea, go for it.
Skydiving Battle Royale. I love it.
Yeah.
Other than that, oh god, we are light on the news this week. And that's sort of partially our fault for all making videos about loot boxes. Sorry! Oh dear. They banned a bunch of cheaters from Fortnite. That was inevitable.
They make the cheats so fast. How do they do that?
I have no idea.
They're so quick.
It's crazy. It's bonkers. That's what I say. It's bonkers. Right, I got nothing else. I'm going to be totally honest.
I literally can't find anything.
No, I've got nothing that's worth talking about.
Releases normally take us a bit.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we'll go through that. Oh yeah, Overwatch's Halloween event has started. I think people are probably aware of that by now.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 14 4.1 just dropped as well.
Yeah.
If you play Final Fantasy 14. So
yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. I don't want to do predictions for BlizzCon a month out from BlizzCon. I think that's a tad excessive. We could probably do that at a future date. Okay, let's do releases and see what we got. We have quite the list, and we've been picking through trying to find some interesting stuff. There's some major releases this week, certainly, and there are some which may be flying under the radar that look like they might be kind of cool. So we will start off with the major stuff on October the 10th, he says as he desperately brings up his Steam page and hopes that it's properly
Shadow of
aligned. Yep, that is the big release today. That is on
big release today.
Huge release today on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and also, of course, on PC. And there are 3 different editions, and already DLC for it. By the way, the download gets even bigger. If you download the high-resolution texture pack, there's also a 4K cinematics pack. Those are both free downloads. That expands the download size even more.
Be massive to add to it.
Yeah, some people were complaining that the game didn't look that great. That might be because they didn't download the high-resolution pack, so might want to look into getting that. There are also 3 editions of the game, and there's a starter bundle, which I assume is probably some crates, a silver edition, a gold edition. There's, of course, the season pass. So, I mean, we have no idea what's coming in the season pass, and if anything, buy the first one. You probably shouldn't get it, because it was a real mess last time. I don't think there's any other major titles that have decided to come out today. They probably have the common sense not to around a game like that. Not that I could see, not on our list anyway, but did. There were a couple of things on here. Jesse, you found a game that looked like it might be interesting on October the 10th. The Invisible Hours, I believe.
I kind of like the idea of the Invisible Hours.
Yep. Spy Tequila Works. Are they the guys that made the Sexy Brutale?
So it's straight up a VR mystery. Like it's a murder mystery in VR. I think that'd be totally interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how they pull it off. I don't know anything about it, but I think that'd be like cool to experience. I'm down.
Yep. That's out right now. That came out of nowhere. Yeah, it's a Vive game. And Tequila Works, they were involved in the development of the Sexy Brutale. They made Deadlight. They also, this year, were involved in developing Rhyme to some extent. So, that's intriguing.
I can't see it all that clearly. It kind of looks like Dishonored, maybe? Or
I don't know. They claim it's, they very specifically say it's not a game, it's a piece of immersive theater. So, it's almost like, I mean, they've had that idea before, haven't they, where you can go to those places where they're acting out a play, but you can walk around the different rooms and all that kind of stuff while it's happening. Can't remember exactly what they called that, but that's a real thing as well. I'm intrigued by the idea of it. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
It's unique.
one that I was drawn to for obvious reasons is Pinewood Island.
Pinewood Island. Okay.
It's a like we're all trapped on an island and
God
somebody
damn it.
gets murdered visual novel.
Okay.
But I like the art, and I'm a little concerned because in the fully customizable main character screen, they let you choose her underwear. So it might get into weird places. Who knows? But
That's setting the tone right from the start.
yeah.
I mean,
But
you do keep picking these Animu games and then get surprised when
I know nobody else is going to. So also y'all gotta take my highlighting things approach on this list, because that way the links don't break.
Oh, am I breaking the links by putting mine by I am.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I accidentally deleted a thing, but
All
that's
right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next time we will have colors.
Doesn't
All right.
break the link.
Okay. I choose red for next time then. All right.
Great.
That's
I
good
will
to know.
always be green.
It's a good technique. We have this shared list now that everyone can edit. Or like, a couple hours before the show, I was like, hey, highlight the stuff you want to talk about. And then we fucked it up. So, yay! Joseph, you got one on October the 10th, I believe.
Yep, I looked through the list and it caught my eye for whatever reason. Called Cybercube.
Yep.
It looks like a 3D version of a game that I've seen being played, 140, and you were a cube, and it looks like you have to jump, and there's like gravity changing as you go through it, and it looks kind of neat. It's got this neon style to it. Looks a little simple.
For $2, can't really complain. Yeah, the 3D element really flips it on its head. I mean, there's quite a few of those, like the Impossible Game style things going on, but it looks like this actually has enough of its own unique mechanics to be worth having a look at. And $2. I mean, That's hard to argue with, certainly. Let's see. There was something else, I think. Maybe not. Anything else on October the 10th that people found that looked interesting? Yes. There was one thing that looked interesting, but may very well be absolutely terrible if ACG's review is anything to go by. Deadbeat Heroes, published by Square Enix. The idea being that you are kind of basically like a just really rubbish superhero, and I think the idea was you're supposed to steal other people's powers in order to actually fight these guys. And it was sort of, it just kind of looked like a pretty cool brawler with an interesting art style. There's a little bit sort of flat shaded, but unfortunately, if I say ACG was not a fan of it, I'll give it a shot, see what I reckon. Because it's sort of my kind of arena spectacle fightery sort of look to it, but
It looks okay.
Yeah, it certainly looks okay. We'll see how responsive it is. It's like, no one's opinion is the definitive one, so we'll have a look at it. Okay, October the 11th. Jesse, you pointed out a couple on here you're interested in, so did Dodger.
Yeah. Insert Paper.
That one looks great.
Yeah, it's a game where you are, sorting papers, but there's clearly something else under the hood. Who knows what it's going to be? A weird game, I hope.
You really love games the way you're going into it knowing there's going to be some weird, fucked up, twisty stuff in it, right?
Apparently, everyone this week has told me that I should grab Dodger and we should play Doki Doki.
Oh my god, I hear that game is fucking weird.
Yeah, I like
Doki Doki Tomodachi Life or something like that.
Will you like it's like something club, like book club, literature club, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you play it with Fan Friday as like a weird, because everyone keeps saying that we should play.
Totally, yeah. Let's do it.
All right, fair enough.
Because everyone's like, yeah, it's like an anime game, but weird. I'm like, what do you mean weird? They're like,
what do you mean, but weird?
That's what I'm saying. They're like, just play it. I'm like, all right. So
this game looks weird. This insert paper game.
Yes, it does.
I love that it's like you have a job, but then something's weird. I like that.
Definitely a bit Stanley Parable feel to it.
Yeah, the creepy vibe of the game saying it's one thing and then there being a meta narrative where it's like, but we know something else is going on. I love that shit in all forms of media. I love it.
Fair enough. We'll go down the list in the order that we've labeled stuff just so we don't end up mixing things up. I found one that I was surprised because usually I have to say that my detecting hidden object games radar is pretty good. Apparently not in this case. This is a Dungeons & Dragons game called Tales from Candlekeep, Tomb of Annihilation. Now, this looks like this may very well be a better version of what Sword Coast Legends was supposed to be. Because it seems like you're slapping down these tiles for the dungeon get slapped down. I don't know if you can do that. I hope you can do that as like a dungeon master to build these things out of tile sets for your friends to make cool adventures. But either way, the game looked really kind of cool. From what I could see, it has a nice art style. It's got the Dungeons & Dragons license in there. A lot of cool customization on the characters and different things to do. I don't know if slapping the, it looks like almost a digital board game. I don't think it has that kind of Dungeon Master mode in it, but there's some procedural stuff. And yeah, they generate the maps by, as you go through, they'll slap another tile down, almost like you would in a board game. So even if it's just aesthetic, I thought that was a kind of neat trick.
Looks cool.
All right, next one on the list, Green Highlight. Is that you, Dodger? Your mic's muted again. You're not having a good day with your mic today, I gotta say.
I know. Vitamin Girl is a little runner game. It reminds me kind of Jet Set Radio in terms of like the color palette and kind of the character designs.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe right off the bat.
Yeah, it looks cute. And I think Jesse and I both were interested in Wunderdoktor.
Wunderdoktor.
Well.
Yeah, looks cool.
What's all
I
that
love
about,
the
then?
art style, and I love that you're like putting weird body parts together on people. It's
fucking weird, man. Yeah. classic Jesse and Duke's pick of just, this looks
bizarre.
Horrifying.
Yep.
Let's play that. Yeah.
Explore a world full of quackery, ghosts, and addictive potions, apparently, with this. That's a shark man. That is a man of shark. That is several forms of... Jesus Christ, this looks fucked up. Oh my god. Yep. All right, fair enough. You can have that game. I'll let you have that one. You can keep that away. Something
That's
a little...
a cool art style.
It's a strange, disturbing art style, which is in itself a pretty cool thing. Something a bit more traditional for VR. This looks like a pretty cool VR style game called Combat Instinct, and it's mostly a VR combat game with a lot of melee combat, punching, dodging guards, and all that kind of thing. And it looks like it's pretty well fleshed out. These games are to a penny on Vive right now, but a lot of them are very incomplete. They're not particularly well done. I'm not really sure why the hair looks like it's made of plastic. But there was some decent stuff going on in this that looked like maybe it's worth a look if you happen to want to play a VR combat game. So it's hard to say with these things because, of course, screenshots never do them justice. So who knows, but it seemed okay. All right. I can't see anything else on October 11th. So should we move on to October the 12th?
Yeah.
What do we got here?
I grabbed one called Live.
Live, right. That's not going to be hard to search for or anything.
You know what? Just, I'm not going to say anything. Just go ahead and look at it.
What the fuck did you do?
I didn't do this. It was on the list. But look at this hellscape.
But you chose it.
Wow.
You chose
What is
this.
that?
Look at this. Look at this weird. Look at this fucking weird Bob Rauschenberg America game.
No. Moving swiftly on to Sociable Soccer. It would be a little weird that I put a football game on there, but it's supposed to be a spiritual successor to Sensible Soccer. Sensible Soccer was fucking awesome back in the day. So if this is anything like that, I will play the shit out of it. So, yeah. It looks pretty good, honestly. Fast, very arcadey, early access, beginning quite soon on that. So I found that to be interesting.
Pinball Wicked also looks great if you just want like a really cool looking pinball game to play.
I do love really cool pinballs. Fuck me, that is a nice looking table. Wow.
Doesn't it look cool?
Yeah. I love really well-designed pinball tables. That one looks fucking fantastic.
Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the colors there. That's really good.
Oh god, that's yeah. I'm gonna play the shit out of that. I every now and again my iPad becomes a pinball machine because there's some really good pinball apps on iPad. but I will play this simply on the basis of look at that fucking table. It looks great.
Yeah.
Very cool find. I thought Yono and the Celestial Elephants looked like it might have some legs. It's a grand adventure featuring carefully designed puzzles, treasure hunts, a sprinkling of combat, and a world full of people. The art style looks kind of cool, and you have to use your trunk as the elephant to solve puzzles and find secrets. You can load it up with like air, water, and different elements to do things with it. So it kind of looks like a cutesy little puzzle platform with a little bit of combat in it. So I was kind of into that. Outside of that, this sounds generic as hell, but actually looked kind of interesting. No, it doesn't. And I have no idea why I looked at that. Why did I put... I think I clicked on the wrong one. Because I'm like, this looks interesting. No, it doesn't. It looks like absolute shite. Well, did I mean to put it on something else?
I don't know.
No, I didn't. Okay, I just made a horrible mistake on that one. Never mind. Let's move on. October the 13th. What have we got here? First one on the list, Exorcism Case 0. That's Yellow who picked up that one.
Hey, that's me. So I wanted to play this game because it's an exorcism game where it doesn't look visually all that great, but it's a game where you're like just in a room with this girl and you're trying to exorcise the demons. I imagine there's going to be some fun little bits in there. So I'm going to try it, actually.
Okay, fair enough. Also one that snuck up on us. Jesse, you pointed this out. Evil Within 2 is actually coming out this week, but it's coming out on October the 13th.
Comes out
Friday
for
the
the
13th.
on the 13th. I'm really excited to play it. We'll see what happens. The first one was hard. Like it was a hard game.
And also horrible by many accounts. A lot of people did not like that game.
I remember you guys talking about that on a podcast once I was watching, and you guys were all talking about it, and it sounded weird, and I wanted to play it because it sounded so weird, but I just never did got around to it.
It was not well reviewed at launch at all, but a lot of the marketing of what there has been of it, and there hasn't been a lot for Even Within 2, looks very strange and intriguing. So we'll see. Here's an interesting point. Bethesda has sent review code out for this earlier than the day before. That is very rare. Yeah, bear in mind, Bethesda's policy has not been to do that. So they have done it on this one. I don't know why. Maybe because they feel like, oh, we actually might need people to cover this game because nobody even knows it's fucking coming out. I'm like,
honestly,
oh, really? You need us now, do you? All right.
That really might be it, because I don't know anybody who's talking about this.
No,
like,
I think that might exactly be why.
Anyone's radar.
It's like, oh, really? You need us now, do you? That's cute. That's cute. Anyway, whatever. I'm salty with them. One that I looked at that kind of the title sounded pretty stupid, but the game looks like it might be okay, is called The Pirate Plague of the Dead. It's a pirate game. But it's
great.
Free. It's weird because it's free to play, but it's also single player, according to this. That makes very little sense. But it looks like a pretty cool pirate combat and adventure game, and I do love my Age of Sail stuff. But
and another Holy Potatoes game.
Yeah. So they're releasing a third Holy Potatoes game, but this one is cooking in hell for some reason. There's a demo available, just like all the Holy Potatoes games. They do love to put the demos out. It's a wacky, hell-themed cooking management sim where you take on the role of a chef in the afterlife populated by potatoes. Holy Potatoes, there's something about those games that are just, they're amusing. They're cute. Yeah, they're cute. They're amusing.
My favorite dog.
Yeah, he is. He's great. I don't know what they're going to do with this, but I'm intrigued to know because it's weird. Last time they made an FTL light kind of game, and now they're making a cooking management game. So maybe like Cook, Serve, Delicious? I don't know. But I'm interested. I think we had this discussion last time where we'd be like okay with Holy Potatoes just doing every game genre.
I mean, they should. Why not, right?
Just for no apparent reason. It's like, yeah, just make a Holy Potatoes version of everything that exists. That'll be fine.
I snagged Druid's Tale Crystal Cave on this list.
Okay.
None of their screenshots show other like characters. so they might just not be like rendered into the game yet. But it's an RPG where you play a druid and you have to like walk around the forest and find items. And then it says that there are going to be like neutral factions that are inside of the forest that you can like trade with in order to make new concoctions and fight evil. It looks really cute.
Yeah, fair enough. See how that one turns out. And Joseph, you managed to find one that again completely slipped under a lot of people's radars, mine included. The third Dungeons game is coming out.
Yep, I'm really surprised. I didn't realize it was coming out so soon. Yep. So Dungeons 1, I'm a big fan of Dungeon Keeper. Really love those games.
Yes.
And I've played War for the Overworld, and I skipped Dungeons 1 because it isn't like Dungeon Keeper at all.
It's not
this
at
weird
all.
Other thing. But Dungeons 2 is like Dungeon Keeper. So Dungeons 3 might be about anything.
I have no idea.
You know, so yeah, but I think Dungeons 2 is worth looking at if you're really a big fan of Dungeon Keeper. So maybe this one will be too. Yeah. I'm interested in seeing it. Not
that we have any idea what it's actually going to be, but it certainly looks like a Dungeon Keeper-like game. And these games have been getting better and better. It looks like there's obviously an overworld part of it. Some of the screenshots are indicating. But yeah, you're right. The Dungeons games have been really weird. So I don't know what to expect from that one. I've heard nothing on the PR front on that game. I didn't even know this existed. So
maybe it's a MOBA. Who knows?
Oh, God, I hope it's not. Oh, God. October the 14th, I don't believe we found a single damn thing that looked remotely interesting there. And October the 15th, nothing as well. Did I actually mark that? Some of these I don't even remember marking. So I'm like, was this actually... but yeah, I did. So on October the 16th, there's a colony management game called Mercury Fallen that's going into early access that looks like it might be pretty cool. You've got to build a underground facility on Mercury, which sounds a big Dungeon Keeper-esque as well.
That sounds good.
Yeah, there's always potential with stuff like that, but there's a lot of those games end up in early access and never see the light of day, so it's potentially a little concerning on that one. And I think
this looks very similar to another game that's stuck in early access. I can't remember what it's called, though. On an alien world. Maya? Is it Maya?
Yeah, it was Maya. I remember that one. And the 17th is actually next week, so we're going to skip that entirely, which is a shame, because there's actually a lot of really cool stuff coming out then. But we have the podcast next week, so we'll cover it then.
Yeah.
I don't see anything else on there that we missed. It seems like a week kind of devoid of some console releases, actually, which is a bit surprising. Usually we get a bunch of like Switch releases, but I didn't see anything on the release list. So either the release list is incomplete, or there's not much coming out this week.
Stardew definitely came out.
Yes.
This past week, because everybody that I know has been like, yay, I'm using my Switch as a Stardew machine.
Yeah.
I love Stardew. Stardew is good.
It's great.
Yep.
But yeah, aside from that.
French about it. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up the show a little bit early, honestly, because like I said, it's not really been much of a news week, frankly. But there you go.
Yeah.
Regardless, big thanks to Joseph Anderson for...
Thank you, Remy.
Is this the first podcast you've been on?
Ever. Yep. First podcast.
Yeah, there you go. You did a pretty damn good job for that, considering you really threw yourself into the deep end on that one. It's like, I'm just going to go on this podcast that only has a few 100,000 viewers. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me a chance.
Of course, no problem whatsoever. If people want to find your content, unfortunately, YouTube hasn't given him a proper URL yet, so I could have put his YouTube URL in, but it's literally 15 random characters and numbers, which is not remotely helpful. So the best thing to do, follow his Twitter. It's been underneath his face for the last 3 hours. And is there anything else you'd like to share, like, say, your Twitch channel or anything along those lines?
Twitch channel is still really new, so yeah, you can stop by if you want. There's a link on my Twitter as well. I think it's just my name, or it's JPH Anderson on Twitch. So I've just started streaming. I really like it. I'm surprised by how much I like it, because I don't have much experience playing games and talking at the same time. But
it's useful skill to have.
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a regular thing. I did it just to practice to come on to here. That's why I started.
Fair enough.
And then I've taken to it quite well. So yeah, definitely. I might stream tonight. I'm not sure what yet though. But yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting because I think like for criticism in particular, you get a lot of interesting opinions from the chat as well. And I started doing streaming of stuff before I would do my little like first impressions videos, and sometimes there might be some of the chat noticed that I didn't. That's like, that's an interesting point. Or maybe the chat would really hate something that I liked. I'm like, Well, why did you hate it? And then, well, that explains, like, oh, that's a valid point. I still like it, but yeah, I can see why people wouldn't like that.
Really simple things you might miss in games that chat will pick up on.
Yeah.
The devil fight in Cuphead, he has an ability where he shoots his hooves off the side and then claps them together. Yeah, like that, Dodger. And I didn't know you could duck under it. So I was trying to jump. I think you're muted, by the way. Is that did that happen to you too?
Yeah, she's muted again.
She's muted again?
I have a rule in my chat that people can't help me. So they were going fucking
Yeah, you did the same thing?
crazy. Yeah, it wasn't until I was done with that level that they were like, so by the way, you can duck under the tubes. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You look like wee Princess Leia. No, all
I
right,
hate
Erland.
you. Go away.
Cool, great.
Go away.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Absolute pleasure. Jesse, what you got coming up this week? What's going on?
Yo, oh my God, so much stuff. I honestly don't know. Things are happening, and I'm gonna try and make sure they do. Scary Game Squad was gonna meet to play games until we weren't, and I was gonna do stuff until a computer broke. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Shit, it's up in the air. That's why you should tune into the channel. You should follow because crazy shit's gonna happen. And then Dodger and I finish up Cuphead, so that too.
Cool. Dodger?
Yeah. Guys, you can find me at Dex Bonus on pretty much everything, including Twitch. I stream a lot now, and Jesse and I have been playing a bunch of The Letter. We haven't scheduled next time to play it, but it's been very silly and fun. I'm currently playing A Hat in Time and having a lot of fun with that as well. And a update that just happened is that our coffee company has updated the store, and we now have pictures of all of the items that we sell. So if you're interested in checking out my coffee line, you can find it at dodgercoffeeco.com.
Cool. This week, not much coming out for me. I've got another treatment, so I'm going to be out of action. But after that, keep an eye out. That's all I can say. We got big things coming in October. As of the 20th, I'll of course be at TwitchCon, as will Dodger. We will be doing the Co-optional Lounge panel. I'll probably find myself on other random panels because I have a fairly light schedule. If we have any space for meet and greet, which apparently is very limited at the show this year, and I don't have one, I will let you know what's going on with that. I think they're trying to find us a way we can do some sort of signing. Dodger, were you about to say something, or was that just a weird yawn?
It was a yawn.
It's a weird yawn. Okay.
She's already bored with it. She's
Yeah.
like, I don't even care about it.
Yep, so I'll be at TwitchCon messing around, doing the Co-optional Lounge panel, and of course I'll be at BlizzCon as well. So I'm going to, basically as of the 20th, I'm going to be on the West Coast for a good couple of weeks, which means there'll be at least one show from Cox Towers, which Jesse will not be at because he'll be in Australia. So we're going to take
That's
over.
really funny. That's really funny, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I won't be here.
Yep, so we'll find people to replace him in the office and we'll do something.
Yeah, there are other people here.
There are other
so-
people. You can be replaced.
Fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far.
We'll find somebody. I'm sure we'll find somebody. Think that is about it. Big thanks to our sponsor today, Squarespace. Head to squarespace.com/cooptional for 10% off your first order and a free trial and a packet of Szechuan sauce. No, die. Anyway, regardless of that, we have been the Co-optional Podcast. You have listened to us, and that is appreciated. Thank you very much. We will see you next time. Goodbye.